3 games to go in the regular season, a tight race in the AFC South, and one team that can't win the division is Jacksonville, yet they will have a say as to who does win the division, as all 3 of the Jags' final games are against division opponents starting today in Houston. Jacksonville won the toss, and they have deferred, so Jason Myers will kick it away. And back deep for the Texans is Akeem Hunt. Alfred Blue also back there at the 5-yard line. Houston is 7-6. If they win out, they are division champions for the 2nd straight year. They need to take care of business today at home against Jacksonville. A touchback, and Brock Osweiler and the Houston offense will start at the 25-yard line. These 2 teams met Week 10 at Jacksonville, just 99 yards passing for Osweiler. However, the Texans did win the game 24-21.
Yeah, and Brock, he knows the situation, and Bill O'Brien didn't mix words with us either. He said whichever one of these 2 mistake-prone quarterbacks plays more consistently today, that'll probably determine the game, and Brock Osweiler's gotten that message loud and clear.
He starts in the shotgun on 1st down, play action to Lamar Miller, and Ryan Griffin makes a tough catch, and Griffin out of bounds right near the chains. Griffin starting today for C.J. Fedorowicz. As we take a look at the Texans starting offensive line, and Ode Abushi starts at right guard. Jeff Allen will not play today because of a concussion. You just saw Griffin bring in his career-high 41st catch of the season. But C.J. Fedorowicz has been a huge part of Houston's offense this year, not playing today, also out with a concussion. On 2nd and 1, it's Miller, and Lamar Miller has a 1st down.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, it's a nice, easy shot on 1st down. Just get that 1st down.
Jacksonville's defense, Yannick Ngakoue leads the team with 6 sacks. The rookie out of Maryland, Paul Posluszny, another big year now in his 10th season, leads the team with 107 tackles. And in the secondary, look for Jalen Ramsey to try to be on DeAndre Hopkins as much as possible. On 1st and 10, it's Miller, and there's Posluszny coming up to make the stop for a loss of 1.
Yeah, that's going to happen when you run the football and you're committed to it like the Texans are. They came out with a play action on 1st down, but right there, man, that's a Jacksonville team meeting. Malik Jackson, Paul Posluszny saw that play the entire way. Posluszny, one of those guys, he's just a tackle machine. He seems to know what's coming, flies to the football. One of the leading tacklers in the league during his career, and he continues it.
No surprise the Texans will try to run the football. They're 5th in the NFL in rushing yards. Here's Wendell Williams in his 1st NFL game, and he cannot spin away from Paul Posluszny. Williams was called up off the practice squad on Tuesday when Houston put Braxton Miller on injured reserve, and he has tremendous speed.
This is just a shotgun version of the jet sweep that a lot of teams are running. That almost was a horse collar or a face mask there. Could have been. Wendell Williams, though, a guy that some say he was actually timed at a 4.19 40-yard dash, which to me is hard to believe, but this guy can flat out fly. Nobody questions that.
Steve Tasker's speed. 3rd down and 9.
Only if I'm falling off a building.
Telvin Smith coming with pressure. Osweiler gets rid of it to Griffin, and Griffin is taken down short of the sticks.
Yeah, this is one thing that Texans can't do. If they're not very productive on 1st and 2nd down, they don't want Osweiler to have to drop back on 3rd down. The running game has got to get them into a 3rd and 4 minus. Even if they get to 3rd and 4, they'll still run the football, as you saw even on that 1st down. On a, when you got a team that's leaning on the run game, anytime you have to throw it, they know you're going to throw it. It puts you in the exact spot you do not want to be in.
Great tackle by Jonathan Cyprien forces Houston to punt. Shane Leckler kicking to Brian Walters, who calls for a fair catch at the 8-yard line. Jacksonville's offense coming out. We're scoreless in the 1st quarter. Jacksonville starts their 1st drive backed up inside the 10-yard line. With 11:48 to go in the 1st quarter. Scoreless between the Jaguars and Texans. TJ Yeldon at running back, and he gets the call on 1st down, and Yeldon gets to the 11-yard line. Benardrick McKinney on the tackle. Blake Bortles in his third year out of Central Florida through 13 games last year. 30 touchdown passes, 13 interceptions. This year, touchdowns are down and the interceptions are up. Week 10 against the Texans, Bortles completed a season-high 65% of his passes. Play action, and the pass is complete to Alex Ellis. That's his first NFL catch, but he doesn't get much on it. It will be third down and long. Look at Jacksonville's starting offense. Their fourth different left guard this year. Jeremiah Patasi starts for the injured Chris Reed. And TJ Yeldon got the start, but Chris Ivory is active. He has missed the last 2 games with a hamstring injury. Third down and 6.
And this is the situation Blake Bortles said Houston becomes hard to read in these 3rd and 5 or more situations.
Bortles throws incomplete. Jaguars looking for a penalty flag, and they're not going to get one.
Yeah, they got there early, but it was a bang-bang play. Walters isn't going to get that call because it just happens too fast, and the officials don't call those. You're going to see this right here. He's going to get hit before the ball gets there. You can't catch that, but you also will not call the penalty. And the league actually has a name for that. It's called bang-bang, and you can see it.
And the other thing, too, Demps was trying to make a play on the ball. He was not coming through the receiver. He was going for the football. They will not call that 9 times out of 10 if the intent is to get the football.
The Texans have Wendell Williams and Will Fuller back deep to return the punt from Brad Nortman.
Wow.
What a kick from Nortman, who's already got a 78-yard punt this year. This is Will Fuller on the return. He gets to the 32. That was a 64-yard punt for Brad Nortman. Great job by the Jags punter. No score in Houston.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. Cricket Wireless. Something to smile about. And by Crest. Healthy, beautiful smiles for life.
NFL on CBS is now on CBS All Access. Stream your local games live. Go to cbs.com/NFL now to try it for free. Second drive for the Texans offense. They'll start at their own 33-yard line. Brock Osweiler under center. And on first down, they give it to Lamar Miller. Trying to push the pile along the right side. Takes it out to the 38-yard line. Miles Jack on the tackle for the Jaguars. Now the Texans this year have a minus 45 scoring differential. It's the 7th worst in the NFL. The worst of any team with a winning record this year. Now historically, the team with the worst point differential that won the division, the Seahawks in 2010, they were minus 97. Yet, Houston at 7-6, tied for first place. Osweiler looking to go to the air. Chased by some Derek Marks, and Osweiler just throws this one away.
Well, let's be honest now. There aren't many divisions where a minus 45 is going to lead the division. They've gotten a lot of help from the rest of the AFC South.
You only showed 3 teams on that graphic. There's about 10 teams involved in playing bad football in order to win those divisions.
No doubt. And you made a great point last time, Steve Tasker, last drive for Houston. They're so dependent on this run game. Right now they got a 3rd and 5, but it puts a lot of pressure on Brock Osweiler if they don't make yards on 1st and 2nd down, because now he's in an obvious passing situation.
Jonathan Grimes at running back. 3rd down and 5 for Houston. Osweiler steps up, fires, and it's caught by Will Fuller, and he's got a first down. Will Fuller, 4th among all NFL rookies in receiving yards this year, and he moves the chains.
Well, this shows you, this is why, Brock Osweiler is a guy who teams want it, and they've got a lot of confidence. That is a bullet of a throw, steps up into the pocket. As you said, Steve Berline, I was shocked. You guys think Brock Osweiler being 6'7" is a detriment. I love the fact he can stand up and see everything on the field, because I'll tell you, he can make all the throws, and that throw right there is proof positive.
And the Texans keep it on the ground with Lamar Miller as he moves closer to midfield. One injury update for Jacksonville. Sean Porter, the third-year linebacker, is questionable to return with an injury.
A good solid first down run there for Lamar Miller. But as you said, we'll have a chance to talk about the negatives of a tall quarterback too as this game goes along. If Jacksonville can get pressure on him, you'll see some of the deficiencies. But I think Brock Osweiler does a lot of great things as well.
It's a hamstring injury for Porter. You saw them working on him on the sideline. The Jaguars do a good job of stuffing Miller on second down. Once again, Jonathan Cyprien coming up to make a tackle, and it's third down for Houston.
Yeah, this is 3rd and 5 once again, and that's just on the cusp of whether you have to throw it and where you don't. Now, the Jacksonville defenders told us, if it's 3rd and 4, the Houston Texans will still run it. But now at 3rd and 5, now they're forced to go empty, and it's all on Brock Osweiler's lap.
What's on? Mike 51! Mike 51! White 89! What's up?
Pressure coming. Osweiler has to get rid of it, and it's incomplete. The Jaguars brought heat. Telvin Smith coming up the middle, and it's 4th down and 5.
Yeah, Jaguars showed pressure. You see all the guys up front there, and they were bringing it. Telvin Smith coming free off the edge. Paz Leslie up the middle. Brock Osweiler did not have time to set his feet and make that throw.
So Leckler comes out for his second punt of the first quarter, and once again Walters is back deep. Leckler trying to pin the Jags deep in their own end, and a fair catch by Walters at the 9-yard line. 7:36 to go first quarter. You're watching the NFL on CBS. On Tuesday, some of the Texans players took part in a shopping spree for kids from the Houston Texans YMCA and Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Houston. Participants received a $200 gift card and were given 35 minutes to go around the store and pick out toys or clothing of their choice. No score, first quarter. Battle Red Day here in Houston. All the fans decked out in red. And once again, the Jags will start inside their own 10-yard line. It's Chris Ivory on first down. Ivory playing for the first time since he was injured in Buffalo Thanksgiving weekend. As we take a look at the Texans defense, Jadeveon Clowney with 4 sacks on the season, and the big strip sack last week in the win over the Colts. Brian Cushing, now the all-time leading tackler in Texans history. And A.J. Boye starts at cornerback once again. Jonathan Joseph was questionable with a rib injury, but Joseph not able to go as J.J. Watt watches on from the sideline. Back to Ivory on second down, and Ivory is taken down. J.J. Watt, this is the first time he's been able to attend a Texans game since he went on injured reserve because he was not medically cleared to stand for more than 3 hours out for the season with a back injury. So for JJ to do a lot of cheerleading and coaching from down on the sideline today.
Yeah. Jadeveon Clowney told us, yes, that's 20 sacks standing on the sidelines for us. And J.J. Watt has told Jadeveon Clowney, you got to stay healthy so next year we can play together.
Because they haven't yet. They haven't all been healthy together up
How
front.
good will this defensive front be with both of those guys? Wow. And they haven't done it yet, even though Clowney's been in the league 3 years.
Third down and 3. Bortles in trouble, and he's taken down. It's Clowney with his 5th sack of the season, and that's a new career high for the third-year man out of South Carolina.
Well, this gives you an idea of how fast he is. Going to come up all the way around. You got to have speed to make that corner. There's no chance. He's there in a heartbeat. And just as Bortles pump fakes and looks to his second option, man, there's no chance.
Well, that was a nicely designed stunt. They had all 3 of the offensive linemen covered with defensive linemen, and Clowney looped right around it.
Fuller and Williams back deep again. Another good punt from Nortman, and Williams and Fuller collide. Williams scoops it up, and Williams is tackled at the 18-yard line. The Jaguars have been killed by special teams mistakes this season, but here they catch a break as Nortman is all pumped up.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Garmin Fitness. Let's beat yesterday. And by Verizon. It's always a great gift on Verizon.
Brad Nortman just flipped the field. A 73-yard change of possession, a 67-yard punt, and a loss of 6 on the return by the Texans. When these two teams met back in Week 10, Nortman had a career low in terms of net punting, just 12 yards against the Texans.
Alert, alert! Mike
Third
50,
possession
Mike
for
50.
Houston. They punted each of their first 2 times with 5:33 to go in the first quarter. Alfred Blewett running back. He gets the call on first down. And the Jaguars stack him up at the line of scrimmage. The ball came out late, but they are saying he's down.
Well, if you're going to run the football on first down consistently, you're going to get all the Jaguars got up front. They had 10 of the 11 guys on and around the box. You see there, the ball comes out.
He was down.
Yeah, it's dead. Comes over the top, and the ground can't cause a fumble. That's a nice tackle for a 1-yard gain. But the Jacksonville, with the formation the Texans came out in, they were able to put 10 guys within 5 or 7 yards of the ball in the line of scrimmage. And man, oh man, that's hard to run against.
Blue was late coming off the field, so Lamar Miller ran on. He wasn't in the huddle when Osweiler told his teammates to play, so Osweiler to go back and tell Lamar Miller what the play is here for 2nd down and 9.
Now they're going against a Jaguars team that's only had 3 takeaways in the last 9 games. That would have been a big one right there.
Play action to Miller. Osweiler. And that pass is incomplete. He intended for the rookie tight end Steven Anderson, and Cyprian on the coverage. It's 3rd and long.
Well, and you look at this defense for the Jacksonville Jaguars as we look at the play over again here. Good coverage by Cyprian, but this Jaguars defense statistically pretty darn good in almost every category. Where they really struggle, though, is turnovers. Only 8 on the year. As I said, 3 in the last 9 games, and their last interception came October 2nd. That was over 2 months ago for you doing the math, Steve Tasker.
323 pass attempts ago.
180! What's up?
3rd down and 9. Malik Jackson coming. Osweiler gets rid of it to Grimes. Grimes is tripped up by Telvin Smith. That tackle by Smith saved a first down. Otherwise, Grimes would have gotten there, and once again, the Texans will punt.
Well, this is Telvin Smith's going to come from inside here. Watch the speed that he closes with, and that's why Jacksonville has been good defensively. Their linebackers run better than anybody linebackers in the league. Telvin Smith, Miles Jack, Paul Puzzlesny, and, of course, they're really good tacklers. You don't see a lot of missed tackles from the front 7 at Jacksonville. That's led to their high defensive ranking, and on that speed is what made the day for them.
3 and out by the Texans. Leckler punting for the 3rd time. Walters will return this one from his own 25. And Walters across the 35-yard line with 4:12 to go in the first quarter. We're scoreless. The 3rd annual Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award honors NFL players who exemplify outstanding sportsmanship on the field. Each NFL team nominates 1 player, and earlier this week, a panel of NFL legends selected the Texans' Brian Cushing as one of 8 finalists. The winner will be announced the night before the Super Bowl, which is here in Houston, at the NFL Honors Award Show on February 4th. Jaguars have run 6 plays. They've gained 3 yards, and a 3-yard pickup here. Bortles to TJ Yeldon.
Now, this is the first time the Jaguars have started outside their own 10-yard line, which, of course, Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator for the Jaguars, appreciates. It's a little different coming out the first couple drives of a game, starting at an away stadium, backed up in your own end zone.
380! Green is up!
2nd and 7. It's Yeldon to the right side. Yeldon is taken down by Max Bulla. The Jaguars have struggled in the first quarter this year 8 times. They've been shut out in the opening quarter. Only the Giants have been shut out more. 9 times this year. Big Blue has been scoreless in the first quarter.
We talked to Nathaniel Hackett, offensive coordinator, and he acknowledged not only have they been bad to start with, they also haven't closed games out. They've struggled in the 4th quarter. He said what they're going to do is we're going to lean on a high completion percentage, just get the ball out of Bortles' hands and hope that one of our playmakers on the outside can break a tackle and go deep. That's how we hope to get our chunk plays.
Jaguars 0 for 2 on 3rd downs. It's 3rd down and 2. Bortles, good protection over the middle, completes it to Neil Sterling. into Houston territory for a first down. Neil Sterling now has 11 of his last 12 catches in the previous 4 games.
Well, that time Blake Bortles had all day to survey the field. Plenty of time. Great protection by the O-line, and Sterling does a super job feeling that he's open in the hole and trusting that his quarterback's going to get back to him for a nice conversion.
He's needed to step up since Julius Thomas went on injured reserve, and the second-year tight end has done just that. First and 10, it's Ivory. He's got some room on that left side. Ivory cuts it back. Ivory lowers the shoulder to the 25-yard line. Quentin Depps makes the tackle, but not before Ivory picks up 17.
Well, the quick motion by Marquise Lee coming across the field here on the snap, that kind of freezes the defense and gets the edge for Chris Ivory. Nice execution, good design by Nathaniel Hackett trying to get the edge for his running back.
Bortles takes the snap right back to Ivory, and this time Ivory gets a couple of yards.
They've got to be very happy to have Ivory back in the lineup. He pulled a hamstring in the Buffalo game, and he was having his way with that defense up in Buffalo before he broke one and got tackled and pulled a hamstring. I miss him. He was the bell cow. He's got over 1,000 yards on the season, or close to it, or working on it, and just having him back gives them that extra depth that they needed to get their running game going.
Yeah, 1,000 yards last season with the Jets. Bortles wants to take a shot. He will to Marquise Lee, and it's incomplete. Lee nearly had a one-handed grab. Robert Nelson on the coverage.
Well, this has been the story for Blake Bortles and the Jaguars this year. Only 41 plays this year where the ball's been in the air over 20 yards. The last year they led the NFL with 80 plays like that. They've just not connected. That was a pretty nice ball right there. Good defense on the play as well, but they have not been able to connect down the field this year.
3rd down and 9. 1:10 to go, first quarter. Bortles to Walters. He's got it for a first down. Blake Bortles was locked on Walters that entire play, and as soon as Walters came open, he completed it for 17.
Yeah, Walters coming off the ball with Boye. Just a pivot and coming right back. Bortles does a nice job placing that away from the defender, but those are the plays you got to make. If your receiver turns around, gives you his numbers, and he's got separation, you've got to put that ball on. Bortles did a nice job, actually threw it off his back foot.
56 yards on this drive for the Jaguars. They're in the red zone. This year they have the 8th best red zone touchdown percentage, and Bortles is stopped by Clowney.
I'll tell you what, this guy has really made a statement this year that he is not a bust. People were talking about all the injuries. Now, of course, it makes a big difference when you don't block him, but it was a read option play.
They weren't supposed to.
He's exactly right. He's the guy that Blake Bortles is optioning. He is so big and so fast that he actually can play both of those guys. I would not try to run a read option anymore at Jadeveon Clowney.
They give Clowney a sack on that play. That's his second of the quarter. We're through one. No score in Houston. Start of the second quarter in Houston. No score between the Jaguars and Texans. Jadeveon Clowney with his second 2-sack game in his career. Bortles throwing on 2nd and 16. Completes it at the 13-yard line. That is Allen Robinson with his first catch of the day.
Yeah, Allen Robinson, a guy that usually is the go-to guy for this Jaguars offense for making plays, but the last 3 weeks only 4 catches for 90 yards, but he is still the guy that Texans are focusing on. I guarantee you, he's got 6 touchdowns this year, all of them from inside the red zone. He's the guy that Blake Bortles looks to.
It's 3rd down for the Jaguars. They need to get to the 3-yard line to pick up a first. And flags come in. It's the first penalty flag of the day. Ed Hockley is the referee today.
Neil Sterling twitched.
False start offense, number 87. 5-yard penalty, it's 3rd down.
And if there really is a story about the Jacksonville Jaguars, this is it right here. You know, you find ways to self-destruct when you've got opportunities. That has been the story of of this year and the previous years as well. This is a team that just can't seem to get out of their own way. The third most penalties in the NFL this year.
They had 4 false starts in the first half last week against Minnesota. Now it's 3rd and 15. A screen pass to Yeldon. Yeldon with some blockers, and Yeldon out of bounds at the 9-yard line. That's short of a first down, and Gus Bradley will send out his kicker, Jason Myers.
You know, they had a good shot here. When you look at the offensive linemen that are pulling out on this screen pass out in front of Yeldon, if they turn back, pick up these 2 inside guys, and let Yeldon try and make the outside cornerback, Boye, make the play, I think you got a chance. Those linemen, when they come around leading on the screen, they should be looking back inside, let the running back try to take on the outside guy.
A 26-yard field goal attempt for Jason Myers. And he knocks it through to give Jacksonville a 3-0 lead early in the second quarter. Tomorrow on CBS, an Oprah Winfrey special event. The last interview and final farewell with First Lady Michelle Obama from inside the White House. Oprah and the First Lady tomorrow at 8/7 Central, only CBS. Myers with the field goal, now kicking away to Akeem Hunt. And Hunt will take a knee, and the Texans will start at the 25-yard line with Brock Osweiler coming back out. All right, here's the score update from the AFC South. As we told you right off the top, such a tight race, and the Titans have fallen behind 14-0 in frigid Kansas City, while the Colts, who came into the day 1 game behind the Texans and Titans, are out to a 10-0 lead on Minnesota.
Kansas City's for real, and today I would not want to be playing in that building. That place rocks anytime you play there. When it's cold, it is tough to win.
Osweiler to the air, checks it down to Miller. Lamar Miller up the middle with a first down and smacked down to the 41-yard line. Alvin Smith makes the tackle, but a gain of 16 for Lamar Miller.
That's exactly the kind of play that Houston wants to run, and it's an easy completion, as you see.
Aaron Colvin is the injured Jaguar.
Colvin was actually the guy that came up to clean up on the tackle. You see at the end. Now this is watch Miller. He comes in a little play action, then pops free, and great job by Osweiler to get it as Smith stumbles.
And a timeout on the field.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Amazon Prime. Get free 2-day shipping on millions of items. McDonald's, I'm loving it. And by Verizon, it's always a great gift on Verizon.
Aaron Colvin needed help coming off the field as the Jaguars training staff attends to him on the sideline. First down and 10 for Houston from their own 41-yard line. Lamar Miller's 16-yard catch, the longest play of the day so far for the Texans. Osweiler, too high and picked off! Intercepted by Jalen Ramsey, his first NFL interception, and he's still going. Ramsey taken down at the 25, and that's Jacksonville's first interception since October 2nd against the Colts.
Well, you know, they're booing Brock Osweiler here, but I don't fault him for this at all. He had to put the ball up high to Will Fuller to get it over the underneath coverage. There's a linebacker underneath. He puts that ball up there in a spot where Will Fuller's got to come down with that thing. Would it have been a great catch? Yeah, it would have been a great catch, but Will Fuller can make that catch. Brock Osweiler took a chance. It was first down. Maybe he shouldn't have taken that chance, but I don't fault him for that at all because that was a pretty darn good throw.
Osweiler now tied for the second most interceptions in the league with Blake Bortles and Ryan Fitzpatrick. On first and 10, Ivory. And Ivory cannot get away from Brennan Scarlett, who was just activated off injured reserve yesterday. Meanwhile, Jaguars' opponents had thrown 326 passes without an interception by Jacksonville. Finally, the Jags are able to get a pick.
Yeah, you're not going to get any sympathy from Jacksonville either. Blake Bortles has had more tipped interceptions, thrown balls off guys' feet. and had it drop right into their defenders' hands. And finally, Jacksonville gets paid back one after all the stuff that they've gone through this season. Brock Osweiler, you're right, Steve. That was a good throw, good decision. Just a bad break.
Bortles, that one is short, intended for Walters, and Bortles took a hit from Jadeveon Clowney at the end of that one.
Clowney is just having his way right here on the edge, just coming right up the middle, number 90, second guy in. He is just terrorizing the Jacksonville Jaguars right now, and we have a man down as well for Jacksonville here. That's Jeremiah Patasi.
He's their fourth starting left guard this season.
Well,
so they could be down to number 5 if Patasi is seriously injured, and that's coming into the game is Josh Wells. He's more of a tackle, so we'll see if the Jags change some things on the line or if Wells comes into play left guard. Patasi playing in his first game as a Jaguar.
Second from he's the one that got beat by Clowney right there and just buckled.
He just buckled. So we spoke to Gus Bradley. Patasi had some opportunities. They signed him off the practice squad, and there were a couple of teams interested in pulling Patasi off the Jacksonville practice squad. And Patasi said, no, I don't want to. He didn't want to start tossing, jumping around the league. He wants to stay in Jacksonville, start to learn the techniques, get it what it is to be a pro, and stay and get some stability in his life. And that's kind of a wise decision by a young player. And of course, Jacksonville, it's turned out they've needed him, and now once again they lose a left guard. It's become almost a regular thing in Jacksonville.
And again, Wells, more of a tackle, is playing left guard. It's 3rd down and 6 for the Jaguars.
And look who is blocking. He's got Clowney right over the top of him.
And Clowney beats him. Bortles eludes the pressure. Bortles is now tripped up and taken down. It was McKinney who was able to get a hand on Bortles and bring him down, and out comes the field goal unit.
Well, every stunt that Houston is doing right now is designed to free up Jadeveon Clowney. They're trying to occupy the man that is over Clowney, and his speed and his power coming around the edge on those stunts. Jacksonville just can't adjust quick enough.
Give McKinney a sack. That's his 5th of the season and the 3rd today by the Houston defense. And now here's Myers for a 40-yard field goal attempt. And Myers, he's good. So the Osweiler interception leads to 3. However, a flag has been thrown. Jaguars have the most special teams penalties of any team in the league.
Holding, offense number 72.
Wow.
10-yard penalties, repeat 4th down.
And that's on Wells, who just came in for Patasi. So another special teams penalty against Jacksonville.
That's a big move right there on a kickoff, on a field goal. It turns it into a 50-yard attempt.
This year, Myers is 4 for 8 on field goals of 50 yards or longer. Jacksonville had 5 special teams penalties a week ago in the loss to Minnesota. See if this one cost them 3 points. And Myers is good. So Jason Myers with his 5th field goal of 50 yards or longer this year. And the Jags lead it now 6-0. Not a good sign for Jeremiah Patasi. The left guard of the Jaguars is being removed from the field in a cart. They're calling it an ankle injury. His return is questionable. And Aaron Colvin, who went out earlier, also questionable to return with an ankle injury. Myers, 3rd in the NFL. Most 50-yard field goals made. Just made another one here, his 5th, and kicks it away to Hunt, who takes a knee. Well, broadcasting legend Craig Sager died Thursday after a long battle with leukemia at the age of 65. Sager spent more than 30 years with Turner Sports and was best known for his impeccable reporting, loud wardrobe, and rapport with the biggest NBA stars. Beginning in 2011, Sager joined the CBS Sports family in our coverage of the NCAA tournament, and he will be missed by the entire game of basketball. We send our condolences to his family as they mourn one of the best in sports broadcasting. First and 10 for the Texans, and it's Hunt. And Hunt to the 30-yard line, and Posluszny is able to take him down. The ball came out. Jacksonville's indicating they have it. And now they're saying it's second down. It's Texans football.
Well, that was Jalen Ramsey that came up from behind. You see right there and grabbed him. I think he got his hand in there and stripped him.
Ball was out.
Ball definitely was out.
And it's a question of who comes up with
well,
it.
It looks like
he got it back. Yeah, but that's, there's no clear recovery, and that's why you won't challenge that if you're Jacksonville. There's no clear recovery. You got no chance to win that challenge.
A gain of 6. It's second down and 4. Alfred Blue up the middle, and Alfred Blue is a first down, but a flag comes in from behind the play. Prince Amukamara on the tackle. And here's Ed Hockley again.
Holding offense number 84. 10-yard penalty, repeat second down.
Goes against Ryan Griffin, the tight end, and Bill O'Brien showing some signs of frustration here as his offense has been held to just 67 yards.
Well, I get it. That was a really nice looking run play. Everybody seemed to be executing they came off that ball really wanting to make a statement, and Griffin obviously went a little bit too far.
Osweiler 6 of his last 10 with the interception thrown to Jalen Ramsey. Following the penalty, it's second down and 14. Osweiler in trouble, steps up, now throws, and it's intercepted again! Telvin Smith on the pick. The Jaguars had 3 interceptions all season. They had 2 in the first half.
Well, that is not excusable. Brock Osweiler was about to talk about how great an athlete he is, the way he was stepping up in that pocket, but the decision to try and throw this football backed up in your own end, you're inside your 20-yard line, to try and throw that football. I don't know how he didn't see Telvin Smith. He's trying to play games, looking one way and throw it the other. Just a bad decision by Brock Osweiler.
He's now thrown interceptions on back-to-back passes. And only Phillip Rivers has now thrown more interceptions in the NFL this year than Osweiler. Bortles. Incomplete, intended for Ivory. We met with Bill O'Brien, Brock Osweiler on Friday. We said, as there's a little pushing and shoving now down on the field. Well, we asked Bill O'Brien, what do you want to see from Osweiler down the stretch of the season? He said, number one thing, ball security. Don't turn it over. 2 picks in the first half.
As fans, sometimes get caught up in the fact that you look at the records and you decide who's going to win the game. Not so for coaches and players. The Texans knew they were facing a pretty stout defense in Jacksonville. Bill O'Brien pulled no punches. They're good, and we're going to have to protect the football and play within ourselves, because even though they haven't gotten a lot of turnovers, they're an athletic, very speedy bunch on defense, and they tackle well. You just knew it was going to be a dogfight. So despite an 8-game losing streak, he knew Gus Bradley was going to put out a defense that was going to be tough to score on.
TJ Yeldon gets the call here, and Yeldon jumping across the 35-yard line to the 33-yard line. Pretty remarkable that the Jaguars had gone since October 2nd without an interception. None of their cornerbacks had a pick the entire year. Ramsey finally gets one, and it's followed up by Telvin Smith with his first interception of the season.
And we talked to Paul Posluszny on Saturday yesterday, and he told us that the whole philosophy of our defense is to try and create turnovers. And very, very frustrated they're not getting the results. Well, today they are.
Third down and 7. Bortles with a deep shot down the field. Robinson incomplete.
Yeah, there's a flag.
And there's the flag. A.J. Boye on the coverage.
Now this is going to go against Boye. We saw it on the first deep ball where Robinson had it, and Boye got his arm in and pulled his arm out, wouldn't let him get 2 hands on it as the ball got there. And this time he did the same thing, and they called it. And they were hand fighting all the way down the sideline there, and this was a great throw by Bortles, I thought.
First time was Marquise Lee.
Pass interference, defense number 21. The penalty is declined. Touchdown.
But that's what we talked to Gus Bradley about this yesterday, and he said, you know, all you want out of referees is consistency. One time they don't call it on when Robinson's going deep. This time they do call it. Well, there's no doubt. Boye had that left arm
but hold
completely.
on a second. Ed Hockley said it was a touchdown.
Yeah.
That can't be right.
No, it goes to the 1 yard line.
The pass was incomplete, so we don't have a touchdown. Pass interference, defense number 21. The ball was placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
I thought there was some new rule we had not word of up here.
Usually you don't miss a touchdown when it happens, and we were going to play it off like, oh, well, yeah, he caught it.
You can see that left arm is just completely pinned by Boye. That's going to be caught. If they're hand fighting, they're going to let that go most of the time. They're just slapping each other. But when you pin one of the receiver's arms and he can't get that arm up in the air to make a play, that's going to be called.
I'll tell you, this situation here in the midway through the second quarter of this game lets you know how big an accomplishment it was for Bill O'Brien and these Texans to go 13-3 against this division. I mean, it's tough to win in your division. Now you're playing a Jacksonville team with 2 wins, and they're handing it to you in the first half of this game.
The ball at the 3-yard line. It's 1st and goal with Ivory at running back. They give it to Ivory. Up the middle, Ivory takes it down to the 1. Jacksonville has just 5 rushing touchdowns this year, tied for the fewest in the league along with Houston.
Yeah, a little earlier I said that Ivory was the bell cow working on 1,000. It's actually the team that has just 1,300 yards now to this point of this game on the season. Ivory has been their bell cow, missed him for a couple of games, but he is a true power downhill inside the tackles running back who can break it when he's completely healthy. I don't know, after that hamstring, I don't know how healthy he is.
Tyson Alualu, the defensive lineman, in at fullback on 2nd and goal. Bortles, play action on the run. Bortles takes it in. Touchdown, Jaguars.
Let me tell you something. Josh Wells, who last drive was the GOAT with the penalties, right here saves Blake Bortles from getting corralled by Jadeveon Clowney. A late peel-back block. You're going to see as Clowney is closing the gap. Right here, he's closing the gap on Bortles. There's Wells right there to keep his quarterback from taking a shot. I think Bortles might have made it anyway, but he would have felt Clowney breathing down his neck.
That's the 3rd rushing touchdown this season for Bortles. He leads the team in that department. And now Myers out for the extra point. And that kick is good. So 2 Brock Osweiler interceptions lead to 10 points for Jacksonville, and they lead it 13-0.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light. Strike gold, and you could win Super Bowl tickets for life. And by Pizza Hut. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
Big surprise so far in Houston with the Jaguars out to a 13-0 lead. Blake Bortles, his 3rd rushing touchdown of the year. That leads the team, as I mentioned, and 2 Brock Osweiler interceptions leading to 10 points for Jacksonville as Myers kicks it away with 8:32 to go in the first half. Akeem Hunt, once again, will take a knee. Well, Brock Osweiler told us on Friday the thing that he's learned this season, and look at this, Osweiler is benched. Tom Savage is coming into the game, and the fans here in Houston go nuts.
Wow. That is a statement right there. Did not get the feeling that Bill O'Brien was that frustrated with Brock Osweiler, but I think that 2nd interception, inexcusable, and Bill O'Brien, if nothing else, wants to make a statement.
Tom Savage has not played this year. 3rd-year man out of Pittsburgh.
51's Mike. 51's Mike. 51's Mike. Right 20. What's that?
And they start this drive on the ground. It's Lamar Miller with a 10-yard gain. Brock Osweiler came in with 14 interceptions on the season, and he adds 2 more in his last 2 passes. 1 pick by Ramsey, the other by Telvin Smith.
Yeah, you think about the statement that Bill O'Brien has just made. And I'm telling you what, that is not lost on that sideline. You got guys on your sideline looking around at each other going, oh my goodness, we're in the midst of a playoff race. And he just benched our starting quarterback in week 15 after a bad first half. And now I'll tell you what, it's a statement that's heard loud and clear.
They gave Miller 9 on that first down run. Now he has the first down out to the 43-yard line. And look, Bill O'Brien maybe just looking for a spark. The crowd went nuts. They've been applauding this change, and some people have even been calling for Osweiler to get benched. Maybe this does provide a spark.
Well, to this point, the 2 running plays they've popped, yes, but let's be realistic here. As long as Tom Savage protects the football, he might be in this ball game. If he makes a mistake, Brock Osweiler is the quarterback of this football team, even though Bill O'Brien obviously does not have a whole lot of confidence in him.
Savage looking to pass. Nobody home, and he just throws it away. And a late penalty flag comes in from the secondary.
Yeah, they were holding Will Fuller pretty badly. Once Savage broke contain, Fuller tried to go deep, and they wouldn't let him get loose.
Before the pass was thrown, holding defense number 21. The 5-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic first down.
And I'm telling you, you can't understand it. And listen, after this game is over, whether the Texans win or lose, Bill O'Brien is going to walk into an enormous question about what's going to happen from this week on with Brock Osweiler. They're going to have to do a lot of question answering in the media and from their fans about why they're making it and what's it mean for the future. But for now, he's just trying to win a game.
Penalty was on Prince Amukamara. They keep it on the ground. And here's the thing about Savage. He was the backup the first 11 games of the season, did not play, but he was inactive the last 2 games because his right elbow was infected. He said it was very scary. He said that it was a weird kind of deal, but he did not dress the last 2 games. Brandon Weeden, the third quarterback, did. Savage did not return to practice until this week. So he hasn't really thrown much over the last few weeks. Says he's feeling better. Bill O'Brien said he looked better, but still, he has not had many practice reps over the last 3 weeks. Looking to a wide open Williams, he's got it! Savage to Wendell Williams. A 32-yard gain.
Well, one thing we know with Wendell Williams just showing up this week and Savage just being activated this week, the 2 of them haven't had many reps together, I guarantee you that, but right there hooking up for a big one to pump some life into this offense.
Good block on that play by Lamar Miller. Texans move inside the red zone. They have been terrible in the red zone this year. 41% scoring touchdowns. Only the Jets are worse. Let's see if Savage can lead them to 7 in the red zone. It's Will Fuller. Slips 1 tackle, but not much else, as Paul Posluszny drags him down.
They came out and said that they worked and focused a lot more on the red area offense this week. The problem was Brock Osweiler is the guy that took all the reps. Savage was watching, certainly, and certainly the other 10 guys in the huddle worked hard on their red zone, but you know this, Steve Berline, it's hard when you get down and the field compresses. There's just no space.
Yeah, that end line is like a 12th defender back there. You got to be quicker, you got to be more accurate.
Loss of 3 on that play. It's 2nd and 13. They hand it off up the middle, and it's Miller across the 15-yard line. It will be 3rd down for the Texans with 5 minutes to go in the first half. Last week, Brock Osweiler was 1 of 6 passing in the red zone. He told us on Friday that usually they just work red zone Friday. As Steve Tasker said, they worked on it all week, but how much of it was Osweiler, how much of it was Savage? 3rd down and 8.
Hey, 37.
Watch it, he's got there.
Hey, Rita. Wait, 20! What you say?
With 2 on the play clock, Savage, pressure coming, and Savage gets away from Fowler. Savage trying to go the other way, throws on the run, and it's incomplete. Good pressure by Dante Fowler, and Peyton Thompson had good coverage in the end zone.
Well, it looked like Fowler was going to be able to hang on.
Wow, they threw a flag very late. It's down at the 3-yard line.
Before the pass was thrown, holding defense number 37.
Wow.
5-yard penalty from the previous spot. It's an automatic first down.
Well, Cyprian's not complaining about it. He must know he's guilty.
I'll tell you what, when a quarterback breaks contain and extends plays, it puts an enormous amount of pressure on the secondary, and they just lose discipline. There's the flag. Well, I don't know.
That must have been before that. We didn't see anything there. But he wasn't complaining about it.
So the penalty gives Houston a first down. It's 1st and goal from the 9-yard line. Akeem Hunt at running back. He gets the call up the middle of the 5, and Hunt down to the 2-yard line. A gain of 7 for Akeem Hunt.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, you know, you look back and the penalties like this kind of get lost when you have a chance to recover. There's Cyprian. And he grabbed him. He got in his way because he thought he was beat.
Yeah, that was the hold for sure.
Steven Anderson was the receiver on that play. Cyprian called for the hold. It extends the drive for the Texans. It's 2nd and goal. Hunt again. Hunt. Ball came out late, but he's in for a touchdown. Akeem Hunt with his first NFL touchdown, and Tom Savage leads the Texans down the field for a touchdown. Now more pushing and shoving. Second time we've seen that here in the first half.
Well, you can sense why the Texans might be a little bit frustrated getting off to a slow start, but this ball has got to get across as soon as it breaks the plane, it's dead, and that ball might have been out. This will be reviewed automatically because the scoring plane, that ball looks like it came out. Tyson Alualu gets it out, but then we'll see who recovers it.
Where is the ball? That ball's coming out.
That ball's out.
And was there a clear recovery in the end zone? Yeah, that ball's out before
the ball is out.
The line.
Now you're looking for a clear recovery.
Clear recovery.
And there might not be one, and actually Hunt's got it on, and
he's underneath.
Yeah. And that's important too, because the guy who fumbled it recovered it.
So all scoring plays subject to review. And now Ed Hockley will go communicate with the headquarters in New York. Dean Blandino and his crew will be back in 30 seconds. Call on the field, a touchdown. Ed Hockley still communicating with Dean Blandino back in New York.
I think this call will stand.
Yeah, there's no reason to overturn it. There was no doubt it was a fumble, but the recovery, if anybody is clearly recovered, I think it's Hunt that looks most likely to.
The ball clearly was fumbled. The question then is whether there was a clear recovery. And by rule, we cannot find a video shot that shows a clear recovery. There were 3 players on the ball, 2 from different teams. Therefore, the ball will be placed at the half-yard line. No timeouts are charged.
That ball goes back to the point where he fumbled, and because they couldn't tell who recovered it.
Great explanation from Ed Hockley. So you take the touchdown off the board, but it's still Houston football.
But that's pretty much overturned. It was ruled a touchdown, so how do you overturn a play that was ruled a touchdown?
Because the ball never crossed the goal line. They ruled then, they changed it to a fumble instead of a touchdown with no clear recovery, and they have to put the ball back where it was fumbled. And that makes sense.
Very unique situation.
So 3rd and goal. Miller is the running back now. They give it to Lamar Miller. And Lamar Miller is hit right at the line, and he's short. Jared Wilson came around caught Miller from behind, who ran into a brick wall in front. It's 4th and goal, and Bill O'Brien is keeping the offense on the field.
No hesitation. He knew beforehand if that play didn't work, they were going to go for it.
Texans just 31% on 4th downs this year. That's 29th in the NFL.
Interestingly enough, they brought all their wides out. They're going to go empty and shotgun. Look for Savage to move out of the pocket or tuck it and try and punch it in with his feet.
Well, now Miller joins Savage on 4th and goal. Can they cap off this drive? Savage, end zone for Hopkins, broken up. Jalen Ramsey on the coverage, and the Texans come up empty.
I like nothing about that call right there.
I agree.
Number one, I think if you're going for it on 4th down, you don't throw a fade pass. And number two, you don't throw it at the best corner, even if it is your best receiver. I think you spread the field, I'm fine with that, but you run some kind of a draw play or a run play up inside. A fade is a very low percentage pass in that situation.
That's only the 7th time this year Hopkins has been targeted in the red zone. They've gone away from him this year. They go to him here, but as you said, Jalen Ramsey on the coverage.
And especially with a quarterback who's not had any reps with that throw whatsoever.
So now the Jaguars inside their own 1-yard line with 2:36 to go. Yeldon looking for some breathing room, and he takes it out to the 4-yard line. Quentin Demps on the tackle with 2:30 to go in a fascinating first half here in Houston.
And you wonder, you know, Jacksonville in the midst of an 8-game losing streak, this defense continues to play. I mean, they bailed them out there. They got put in by a couple of penalties as we see a player on the field down.
That's Jeremy Parnell, the right tackle. They've already seen Patasi, the left guard, come out.
Yeah, and the backup tackle, Josh Wells, is now playing left guard. So it'll be interesting to see how they cover for this.
Well, they only have one more offensive lineman.
He's just his shoe might have come off. You see, he might not be hurt. His shoe might have come off.
He just couldn't get down there himself to put it on?
Yes.
Patasi's been ruled out for the rest of the game with an ankle injury. And that takes us to the 2-minute warning here in Houston. Jaguars lead 13-0. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, Coach Cower. They'll have all the latest NFL scores and highlights. It's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Jeremy Parnell is out there right now. So it does appear just to be a shoe malfunction for Parnell. It's 2nd down and 7 at the 2-minute warning. Both teams with all 3 timeouts remaining. Bortles down the sideline, and Marquise Lee makes the catch. Was he in bounds? No, out of bounds. Good grab by Lee, but not in bounds, and it's 3rd down and 7.
Well, that's one of the guys that has really emerged in the midst of this streak as Marquise Lee. Watch Bortles. They block it up with a 5-man rush. He puts this ball a little too high and outside, and Lee couldn't get his right foot back down after his left one touched. But that's the kind of playmaker and the kind of guy that Jacksonville has needed. They only need like 2 or 3 plays a game, and they haven't been able to find him consistently.
Tyler Shatley now at left guard instead of Josh Wells on 3rd and 7. Bortles pops up in the air, and it's incomplete, and Bortles took another shot as he released that football. It was McKinney applying the pressure on Blake Bortles, and it's 4th down.
That solid pressure coming from McKinney. Bortles had time to scan a little bit, but then all of a sudden McKinney flashes. Bortles very fortunate not to have bad luck again. Those are the kind of plays, those tip balls have always gone. They seem to always go against Blake Bortles in Jacksonville.
So now Nortman punting from his own end zone with Williams and Fuller back deep for the Texans. They should have good field position here late in the 2nd quarter. Nortman with a high kick. There's a flag down in the end zone, and Nortman is also down in the end zone. Fuller on the return. Fuller is taken out at the 41-yard line. There's 2 penalty flags in the end zone. A flag and a hat, actually, by the referee. It's Ed Hochuli's cap.
Well, I don't agree with the one that's going to be called in the end zone. He drove the blocker back into the punter, I think, which is not a penalty, correct, Steve Tasker?
Well, it could be running into it. Depends on if he deems that the rusher was pushed in by the blocker or whether he drove the blocker into or missed or hit him himself. Depends on the momentum and what caused it.
There's also an injured Texan down at midfield.
No question, though, the hat is a second flag.
Holding by the offense, number 87, in the end zone. That results in a safety.
That makes sense. That's a great call by Ed Hockey, because that defender, whoever it was that was rushing that punter, just drove that right back into the punter. You had to be holding on to him.
There was no running into the kicker because that's the player who was held. He was thrown into the kicker. Therefore, no foul by rule.
There we go.
Neil Sterling called for holding, so it's a safety for the Texans. Once again, the Jaguars special teams cost them points. This time it's a hold. You see it right there. He dragged down the tight end, Steven Anderson. So it's 2 points for the Texans in what's been a bizarre first half. The injured Texan was Wendell Williams.
And you kind of forget about it. You always think about it when your offense is backed up, but when your special teams come out and they commit a hold in the end zone, and that's the same issue.
Well, Jared Wilson, number 47, was the one who was driven back into the punter.
Sterling was called for the penalty. And now Jacksonville will have to kick it away to Houston with 1:35 to go.
Gus Bradley's not happy with how that play turned out, obviously. Now he's got to give the football back to the Texans with 1:35 and all three of their timeouts. Although he's trying to punt it away, the Texans will actually be in worse field position after this free kick than they would have been with the punt, or should be, but they won't have the 2 points.
The last time Jacksonville allowed a safety was 2 years ago against Houston. J.J. Watt with the safety for the Texans. Different situation here with it occurring on special teams. Sterling committed the penalty. Gus Bradley, we asked him about the special teams miscues last night, and he said, look, some of it's coaching, some of it's execution. Bottom line is we have failed on special teams this year, and it's another case of where the special teams has let this team down.
Well, Hockey League called it on the tight end, Sterling, but actually we think it was on Jared Wilson, number 47.
No, I think Sterling was holding on the left side as well. I think they could have called either one of them.
One more look.
Well, here's Sterling, here's Wilson. We'll see which one does it.
He tackles.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, both of those.
Could have called either one.
Well, now that changes things, because Ed Hockley said the guy that was held was the guy that ran into the kicker. And that doesn't seem to be the case.
He got it right.
I don't know.
There was holding in the end zone.
Yeah.
Fuller on the return. Fuller, can he get to the outside? And Fuller close to the 40-yard line with 1:30 to go. The clock's still ticking. I think they started it late. Meanwhile, Week 15 continues later today on CBS and for some of you on Fox. And then tonight with Sunday Night Football on NBC, and tune in tomorrow for Monday Night Football on ESPN.
This will be interesting to see now. Tom Savage running a 2-minute drill in a good situation, field position-wise. Plenty of time. Be interesting to see how he manages this situation.
DeAndre Hopkins still without a catch. He's matched up at the top of your screen with Jalen Ramsey. Savage fires. Wide open is the tight end Griffin. Slips a tackle and he gets out of bounds in Jacksonville territory. A gain of 18.
That was a nice job by Griffin getting out of bounds after the catch. With Savage, as you see, he's going to the corner. He throws this behind because he's got the underneath coverage sloughing off into it. That's a great read by Savage and a great throw, because that ball, if he throws it out where it's supposed to be thrown, it's picked off.
If you're just joining us, Brock Osweiler was benched after throwing back-to-back interceptions. Tom Savage playing in just his third NFL game and first this year. Looking sideline, and he's got Hopkins Hopkins with his first catch of the day. They gain 13, and again, the crowd really encouraged by Savage. Happy to see him out there after Osweiler's had a rough year.
Well, they're giving Hopkins a lot of room, and that's one of the things Jacksonville doesn't want to get one over their heads at this point. They're going to keep everything in front of them to force Savage, a backup quarterback, to make the throws, but right now he looks pretty sharp.
They're going to put 100 yards with Savage at quarterback.
They're going to put Ramsey on top on Hopkins now as well.
Savage has never thrown a touchdown in the NFL. Pressure coming, Savage gets rid of it, and it's dropped. Dropped by Grimes. It was Peyton Thompson coming off the edge and putting the heat on Tom Savage. Don't forget, coming up, Verizon halftime report. JB and the guys in New York will have scores and highlights from around the NFL.
I like the decision of Todd Wash, defensive coordinator, to bring pressure on Tom Savage. You got to think that this guy has not had enough reps to be able to see all the different looks that are coming at him, know when he's hot, when he's got to get rid of the ball. Good call by Todd Wash.
2nd and 10, quick pass to Fuller, trying to get him in some space, and Fuller is dragged down by Lusney. The team's leading tackler, now at the age of 32, Paul Lusney with the stop. Timeout, Houston. We're back in 30 seconds. 1:06 to go first half. It's 3rd down and 6 for the Texans. They are 1 for 5 on 3rd downs today. Savage, sideline, Hopkins, he's got it, spins back in the middle of the field, now out of bounds, dragged down by Ramsey, and that spot appears to be just short of a 1st down. It'll be 4th and a half yard.
That was a tremendous tackle by Ramsey because, I mean, you get the feeling trying to tackle Hopkins in that situation is like kind of holding on to a slippery eel. I mean, look how wiry he is. He's doing everything he can just to get to the 20, and Ramsey does a great job holding him back.
What?
Really, the 19's all he needed, or the 21, excuse me, and he couldn't get there.
Well, the footwork of Ramsey right there, just to stay with Hopkins. Hopkins had some space. There aren't many corners in the league that are going to make that tackle one-on-one in the open field, and then he showed the strength to rip him down to the ground as well. What a great play.
So Houston called timeout to stop the clock with 53 seconds, and they've sent out Nick Novak on 4th and a half yard to attempt a field goal. Do you like this decision?
Man, that's a tough call. This is also field goal or fake field goal possibilities here as well.
Not with them lined up like that. They're expecting a fake, actually. They got guys off the line of scrimmage ready to pursue.
A 39-yard attempt, and Novak is good. So with 49 seconds left, the lead is 13-5 in favor of Jacksonville. We're back in 30 seconds. Tom Savage and offensive coordinator George Gotze on the Texans sideline going over some film with 49 seconds to go in the 2nd quarter. It's a 13-5 game, a 1-possession game. Curious, though, that Bill O'Brien used a timeout there. He could have let the play clock go down a little bit more and forced Jacksonville to possibly call a timeout.
I don't have a problem with it because he wanted to look at that spot. He wanted to take, the clock was running because Hopkins was inbounds. He wanted to get a good look and think and give it a second look to see maybe he wanted to go for it. But let's face it, they already got burned on a 4th and goal on the half-yard line. He decided against it.
Pretty good discipline on his part. I'm impressed.
Marquise Lee, the return man for Jacksonville, will take a knee. Jags have all 3 timeouts, and they'll get the ball at the 25-yard line. Wednesday on CBS, the Bosses are back. Don't miss the Undercover Boss season premiere. Wednesday at 8/7 Central only, CBS.
You know, the other factor that comes into play here, too, is I think Bill O'Brien has an awful lot of confidence in his defense, and to get that to be it's a 1-score game now at 8 points. He knows a lot of football left. He doesn't think Jacksonville's going to run away from him.
If you're the Jags, do you try to take a couple shots here?
I think you run a safe play on the first one.
That's what they do with Yeldon. And he gets a yard. Houston has 1 timeout remaining. And Jacksonville will not use their timeouts here.
And now they're going to go no huddle now with clock ticking. We'll see. They'll probably see what happens on this play, then start using their timeouts if they get a big one.
Bortles to Yeldon at the 30. And Yeldon up to the 34-yard line with 15 seconds remaining. Jacksonville does get the ball to start the second half.
And that's going to end the first half. After that, they thought maybe Yeldon breaks a tackle, gets down the sideline. Maybe then they'll start trying to think about field goal range, but they'll let the clock run out with an 8-point lead.
That was a bizarre first half. And the big news, of course, the Texans benching Brock Osweiler. Gus Bradley's team leads 13-5. We're back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Started the third quarter in Houston. The Jaguars with a 2-11 record have a 13-5 lead on the Texans. Back in the booth with Steve Berline and Steve Tasker, I'm Andrew Catalan. What a bizarre, wild first half that was. And now that you've had some time to digest what just happened, what do you think of the decision to bench Brock Osweiler?
Well, I think that Bill O'Brien made it very clear how much confidence he has in Brock Osweiler. I mean, to make a change that early in the ball game, there were two interceptions, no doubt about the first one. Steve Tasker, you and I both agree it wasn't entirely on Brock Osweiler. Maybe Bill O'Brien wanted to be more conservative, but the second one, all on Brock Osweiler, and that led to Tom Savage coming in. And this is a guy that hasn't played in the game in I don't know how long. He just came active this week, hasn't had any reps, but he actually looked pretty solid, made some nice throws out there, looked very comfortable, very confident. We'll see what happens this second half. It'll be interesting to watch.
6 first downs with Savage, just 3 for Osweiler, and Osweiler played 5 possessions.
Yeah, Savage only had 2 possessions, and it'll be interesting to see if they score a touchdown here in the third quarter. We were talking about it. Will the Texans go for 2 to tie it up? They're within 1 possession. We'll see.
You can follow your favorite team all season long. Go to itunes.com/NFL. First time Savage has played in 2 years. He was on injured reserve all of last year. And this season, he suited up as the backup 11 times, but did not get into a game. Marquise Lee, the deep man for Jacksonville. And this will be a touchback.
Well, the last note, I think, on this Osweiler thing for now, at least, is, we talked to Bill O'Brien yesterday, and he made it very clear. He was frustrated with the performance, and he said we're going to have to run the ball, count on that, and Osweiler just has to be smart. And he made it very clear that was all he was asking, and I think that second interception put him over the edge. 114
of their 171 yards with Savage at quarterback, but it's Jacksonville that gets the ball first to begin the second half. Ivory, the first down carry out to the 29-yard line. Chris Ivory playing in his first game since Thanksgiving weekend. Missed the last 2 because of a hamstring injury. So far, 7 carries for 36 yards.
Yeah, and for Jacksonville, first of all, they've got to continue to run the ball effectively. But second of all, they've got to have an answer for Jadeveon Clowney. He wreaked havoc on their offense in the first half. We'll see if they can put him under wraps in the second.
Bortles, nobody home, and has to throw this one away. You mentioned Clowney. They actually went back and took away one of his sacks from the first half. They called it a run play. So just 1 sack today for Clowney, but still a career high with 5 on the season.
Yeah, that was that read option play where he took away the read and the option, which is not many guys, even at this level, can do that.
Well, let me tell you something. If I'm looking at Jadeveon Clowney, I'm handing it off every time. I do not want that guy in my face.
Third down and 5. Jacksonville 2 for 7 on third downs in the first half. Bortles rolling right, looking for Robinson, and he makes the catch. Good adjustment by Robinson to give Jacksonville a first down.
Well, I
Gain of 9.
Excuse me, Andrew, but obviously in both these last 2 plays, they're going to move Bortles out of the pocket and make sure Clowney can't chase him down. They're going to move him away from the pressure, get him on the move, let the receivers pick a spot, and let Bortles just get rid of it. They cannot take a chance on getting Bortles hit in the pocket.
Second catch today for Robinson. He only had 1 last week in the loss at home to Minnesota. Bortles back to the air. Wants Yeldon. He makes the catch, but Yeldon is not going anywhere. McKinney on the tackle, but it's been a big day for Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah, he continues to just kind of reinforce the fact that he is back. The injury problems that plagued him his first couple years in the league, boy, he is a disruptive force. He has been all year, and more confidence he's getting in himself, the more dangerous he's going to be.
4 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, a sack for Clowney so far as Ivory is stuffed.
What I like right there, though, if you're going to run the football, you want to slow down Jadeveon Clowney, run the football right at him. Make him take on some blockers, make him eat some helmet. You know, this play is right at him. You got 3 guys pushing him around. That'll slow him down a little bit.
No doubt about it. Sometimes that's the best thing to do is run right at their best player.
Another 3rd down situation, 3rd and 4. Bortles looking for Robinson again, and he is out of bounds. That pass was a little bit high, and Robinson could not get the feet down, so Jacksonville will send out the punter, Brad Nortman.
These are the kind of plays that Jacksonville just has not been able to convert all year. Bortles knew he had to hurry the throw. They had Yeldon one-on-one on Clowney, so he knew he had to get rid of it right away.
He had
and he just can't make the throw.
Well, I think it was a bad decision on Bortles' part. 3rd and 4, you had Marquise Lee up top with one-on-one coverage on a slant route.
Penalty down on the punt. Will Fuller makes the play at the 22. There's actually 2 flags down. One where Fuller caught it and one back at the line of scrimmage. You mentioned Marquise Lee, Steve Berline. He is still without a catch today. And he's been the hottest player on this Jaguars team. He was over 100 yards receiving last week against Minnesota.
Well, he ripped his helmet off in frustration after that last play when he saw Allen Robinson out of bounds trying to make that catch. He knew that, in his mind, he knew that Blake Bortles was going to go to him the way he has the past few weeks.
There were fouls by both teams in the play. Running into the kicker, other defense, number 90. There was also number 17 illegally went out of bounds on his own by the kicking team. Those penalties offset. Replay 4th down.
So Nortman will kick it again.
If you're asking why Jadeveon Clowney is still on the field on a punt team, teams will leave their defense on the field in a 4th down and short on a punt team, knowing that they're the best guys to have out there.
It's a bit of a break for Jacksonville, potentially, because it was only a 33-yard punt from Nortman. Now we'll have another chance to try to pin Houston back deeper in its own territory. This one to the 15, where a fair catch is called by Fuller, so the penalty does help out Jacksonville. Tom Savage going back to work when we return. Back in Houston, and the Texans training staff has been spending some time with Nick Novak, the kicker. This was the opening kickoff of the 2nd half, and after he kicked it, he grabbed for the side of his right leg, and you can see he's barely able to run down the field, so we'll keep an eye on that here, with the Texans trailing by 8, and they start this drive on the ground with Lamar Miller. Houston only rushed for 51 yards in the first half. They've gone over 100 in 8 straight games. Meanwhile, another injury update for Jacksonville, and their backup offensive lineman Josh Wells will not return today. He's out with a shoulder injury, and Patasi, who started at left guard, also out for the game with an ankle injury, so Jacksonville's very thin on its offensive line. 2nd down and 7. Back to Lamar Miller. Miller reverses field and cuts back at the 25, and Lamar Miller has a Houston 1st down. Look at the first half possessions for the Texans. The first 5 with Osweiler, the last 2 with Savage. This is the third drive for Tom Savage.
Yeah, that drive that they gave over on downs, as you remember, they ended up on the half-yard line trying to go in on 4th and short, and they got shut out for no points on that drive.
Savage is 5 out of 7 for 72 yards. Play action. Savage looking for the tight end. Griffin, he's got him in midfield. Savage to Griffin. It's a 23-yard gain.
That's a heck of a job by Savage getting back off the play action. You see him turn his back there to the defense. He gets set and finds Griffin running down the middle of the field. I know Gus Bradley's going to be saying, you know what? To Sean Gibson, you got to be there a little bit earlier to make that play. But a nice throw and catch.
Texans without their leading tight end, C.J. Fedorowicz today. He's out with a concussion, so Griffin with 4 catches for 57 yards. And Miller stepped up by Cyprien. Jonathan Cyprien's had a nice year. Over 100 tackles once again since 2014. He has the most tackles of any safety in the NFL.
And there's a lot of guys at this time kind of dealing with a little bit of a shoulder issue. He's limited in practice this week, but you know, for some of these guys, and Cyprien's one of those guys that kind of get that reputation inside their locker room, he's not going to not show up. And he takes a little day off on a Wednesday during the week. He says, I'm back, and he's back in making tackles like you just saw.
14 tackles last week for Cyprien. That one limited the Texans to 2 yards. It's 2nd and 8. Pressure coming. Savage gets rid of it, completes it to Hopkins. Hopkins with another Houston first down.
Well, they had Jalen Ramsey covering him, but he came into the slot. Ramsey moved in, but he gave him 10 yards of cushion. Wanted to take away the deep ball, but Hopkins just crosses the deep field, and Savage gets rid of that just in time. He takes the hit.
You know what they did? They lined up Hopkins off the ball and outside, motioned him in. That forced Ramsey to play him soft, give him that cushion underneath. Good design on that play by the Texans offense.
Unique Ngakoue was the man who hit Savage, but Savage still able to complete it. First down and 10 for the Texans. Miller taken down. Avery Jones with a 1-yard loss. Jones has taken over the starting spot for Roy Miller, who's on injured reserve, and has done a nice job for Gus Bradley's defense.
Comes from right down inside, swims just inside the block of Lamb, and gets right into the backfield. He kind of gets up and did a swim underneath, and still had the quicks to get back outside and run that play down from the inside out. Nice athletic play by the big man.
4th tackle for a loss this season by Jones, the 4th-year man out of Georgia. And a flag comes in. Movement on the line against Houston.
False start offense, number 15. 5-yard penalty. It's 2nd down.
It's on the rookie receiver, Will Fuller. So always 2nd and 16.
It always got me frustrated as a quarterback. Everybody makes mistakes, but those receivers, the only thing they need to do is look at the ball. They don't need to be guessing the snap count. They're out there all the way on the outside. Look at the ball. When the ball snapped, then you take off.
Good protection. Now Savage has to roll out and throws it away. It was Ngakoue again. Tyson Alualu also applying the pressure, although Savage did have some time before he had to get rid of it.
Yeah, it was time that he bought for himself after breaking contain. Ngakoue, we spoke to him yesterday, an interesting guy. He carries a chip around on his shoulder the size of the stadium for going 69th overall in the draft and uses it as fuel. I mean, he's got a high motor and has really showed up in a big way for Jacksonville. It's been a real pleasant surprise for them.
3rd round pick out of Maryland, leads the team with 6 sacks on the season, and now 3rd down and long for the Texans. They're just 1 for 6 on 3rd downs today. And Tom Savage has to call a timeout with 1 on the play clock. Savage saves another 5-yard penalty. 7:51 to go. Back in a minute.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. the new 2017 Jeep Grand Cherokee, Jeep free to be. And by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM.
Following the Houston timeout, 3rd down and 16 for the Texans. 7:51 to go, 3rd quarter. It's an 8-point game.
Wait, 20!
Tom Savage in the shotgun.
Easy. Mike's right. Mike's 51. Mike's 51.
We don't know.
Charger! We go!
Pressure coming. Savage completes it to Mumphrey, and Mumphrey is taken down short of a 1st down.
Yeah, but that's a big completion because it puts him well within field goal range. Although, yeah, Novak's going to come out and try and kick it. He's hobbled out here at midfield. He's going to come in and walk up on this, but he is not 100%. You can tell just by the way he's moving. He's going to try and gut this out. It's going to be a 45-yard attempt.
Yeah, and he's obviously thinking about it. And you know, for kickers, 90% of their game is mental. Their confidence in just being able to do what they do.
It's a mental thing.
It is a mental thing.
45-yard field goal attempt for Nick Novak. And this kick is good. So Novak knocks it through. And it's 13-8 in favor of the Jaguars.
Back in Houston as the Jaguars hang on to a 5-point lead. Nick Novak, the kicker, has been struggling here in the second half. You can see there he grimaces and goes down to a knee. He does hit the kick, 45-yard attempt, but we'll see how he kicks off here. He's hurting.
Novak gets this one just a yard into the end zone, so Marquise Lee will take it out with a head of steam. Marquise Lee has room down the sideline. Marquise Lee at the 20. Lee will go 100 yards. A late flag comes in after Lee had taken it in the end zone. Marquise Lee, assuming it stands, with his first kick return touchdown in his career.
This may be on Jacksonville's bench.
Larry Izzo, the special teams captain for the Texans. Jaguars had gone 149 games since their last kick return touchdown, 2007.
What happens in the bench area is you're running by and your team breaks a big when everybody comes out and goes crazy in the bench area and they get into the area.
Unsportsmanlike conduct by Jacksonville, number 11. The touchdown, however, does count, and that 15 yards will be enforced on the kickoff. That is also an unsportsmanlike conduct foul of the type that qualifies as a potential disqualification if a second one occurs from that player.
This must have happened after the touchdown, but watch as this opens up, well blocked, and he's got great help right out in front by Aurelius Ben, who holds him off. And that right there, the point, that's what it was. When you point at your opponent on the field of play and you got the ball in your hand, that's unsportsmanlike.
Taunting.
The last Jaguar to return a kickoff for a touchdown, Maurice Jones-Drew, in November of 2007. Marquise Lee had a couple of kick return touchdowns at USC, but had never done it here in the NFL.
Well, he says, if you're not going to throw me the ball, I'll do it on a kickoff return.
And this Jaguars special teams unit has rightly been under fire all year because they have not had a good season. But that is a big bright spot for Gus Bradley's team as they take a 20-8 lead with 6:50 to go in the 3rd quarter. Friday, December 30th, CBS Sports takes on the bowl season as Christian McCaffrey and the Stanford Cardinal pull out their game faces against Mitch Trubisky and the Tar Heels of North Carolina. It's the Sun Bowl here on CBS. So we chronicled Nick Novak getting worked on earlier in this half. You saw him grimace after the field goal. Novak was only able to get that kickoff 1 yard into the end zone. A great head of steam that Marquise Lee had running up the field.
Not only was it just barely in the end zone, it was a line drive and it got there real quick. So he had time to get out and time that up just right. Now you can see Novak just grimacing just to get down the field. He has no shot at getting in there.
then he gets trampled a little bit.
But that's a result of the kick that he can't put it deep or couldn't put any air under it. The coverage unit was clear outside the 25 to the 30 before when Lee caught the ball at the end zone. And man, he had a head of steam. It timed up just perfectly, and that's what happens in a big return. It's timing, not more so than speed.
And the penalty on Lee after the touchdown means that Myers has to kick it off from his own 20-yard line. So Houston should have good field position. Akeem Hunt on the return. Hunt to the 40. Akeem Hunt now off to the races, but the kicker Myers gets him at the 50 with a flag down on the play.
Yeah, that wasn't a good kickoff either, despite the field position. He didn't have any hang time on it. And the coverage unit couldn't cover enough ground to close the gap between the returner and the time that he caught the football.
During the return holding by the receiving team, number 43. 10-yard penalty enforced from the spot of the foul. Houston keeps the ball, first down.
That's on the backup safety, Corey Moore, and wipes away a 41-yard return.
Right there's the penalty. He's got his hand up around the net, and that's a good call.
Well, this is a big point here for the Texans. Tied for first place in the division. They've decided to bench Brock Osweiler, who makes $17 million a year. They cannot afford to slip up at home against Jacksonville with the Colts crushing Minnesota 34-3. Houston needs some points, still without a touchdown today. They start this drive on the ground with Lamar Miller, and Telvin Smith makes the tackle.
Well, you know, on that note, Andrew, you think about it, and I understand that there's only reason Bill O'Brien did is because his frustration level with Brock Osweiler is at an extremely high level right now. But when you open up that can of worms now at this point in the football season, you are really taking a risk. And I know he's going to say I'm taking a risk with Brock Osweiler as well, but your team now doesn't know who the quarterback is with 2 games to play.
20! What's that?
Miller, nowhere to go. Jonathan Cyprien and Tyson Alualu combine on that stop.
Coming into this game, Gus Bradley, we spoke to him yesterday, he said, you know, it looked like coming into this game that Houston had figured out how they were going to win games. They're going to run the ball, play good defense, maybe get some turnovers and some sacks, and just let their quarterback manage it, not turn it over, and do things like that. Now it looks as though the level of frustration is such, and the level of urgency too, with 3 games to play, just took them out of that entire philosophy, and now they got their backup quarterback in.
9 tackles today for Cyprien. That last one sets up 3rd down and 4. Texans with just 1 conversion on 3rd down today. Savage, plenty of time, and it's knocked down by Malik Jackson. Jackson almost was able to get both hands around that one and pick it off, but instead Bill O'Brien will send out Shane Leckler.
Wow, nice instinctive play by Malik Jackson. He felt like he could not get to the passer, so he backed off a little bit into coverage there and just said, I'm going to try and read the quarterback getting away.
Yeah.
And he got him way all right, put his head right on that football.
Yeah, almost broke his windshield there.
He is without an interception in his career, which you may not find surprising after that last replay. But nonetheless, the Jaguars defense does its job. Good punt by Leckler. Jason Walters back to his 10, and good coverage downfield. Akeem Hunt with the tackle on special teams. A 56-yard punt, but the Jaguars lead it by 12.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by K Jewelers. For 100 years, every kiss begins with K. And by the new film Sing, in theaters this Wednesday.
Back in Houston, the Jaguars have a 20-8 lead on the first-place Texans with 5:07 to go in the 3rd quarter. TJ Yeldon running back, and on 1st down, Yeldon across the 15, and Yeldon runs out of bounds and picks up a 1st down. NFL fans, order your holiday gifts from NFLshop.com today and get free shipping at the official store of the NFL, NFLshop.com. Told you about a couple of injuries on the offensive line for Jacksonville. Wells is out and Patasi is out, so Tyler Shatley is the left guard right now.
Well, it's a Jacksonville offense with only 117 total yards on the day. They've been fortunate to get the breaks they have.
And Ivory can't get away from Kamalu, the rookie out of Miami, and a penalty flag comes in. We've seen a lot of extracurricular today after the whistle. A little bit more here. Ed Hockley's been a busy man.
After the play was over, a personal foul, unnecessary roughness offense, number 33. The down counts, it's second down, half the distance to the goal.
That's on Chris Ivory. Now take another look after the tackle by Kamalu. Ivory with a little swipe with his right hand.
Yeah, he's lucky. Anytime you do that, and I don't know why that's not. If you take a swipe at a player like that, usually that's an ejection.
It's an 11-yard penalty. And it backs up Jacksonville to its own 10-yard line. 2nd and 21. Bortles, and that's knocked down by Clowney. But Davion Clowney got a hand on that one. It's 3rd and long. And, you know, just going back to that penalty by Ivory, that is just a microcosm of the Jaguars season. There's so many boneheaded mistakes and self-inflicted wounds that have hurt this team throughout the year, and that could be another one with now backed up 3rd and 21.
What I was going to say was that was just dumb. It's just a dumb play, and it just seems as though those things continue to happen to the Jaguars no matter where they are, who they're playing. Timing is terrible.
J.J. Watt watching from the sideline, 3rd down and 21. Bortles, the screen to Yeldon. Yeldon still going to the 20 and taken down at the 21. Well short of a first down, and Jacksonville will punt.
Well, that's what the Texans had to do. They had to get a stop and had to do it very quickly. They did. They allowed one first down, but then they got aided by the bad penalty. I think, man, they are really struggling. They're doing a lot of things to try and to combat Clowney. Watch you one step up and way underneath. He got a sack in the first half like this, and now Bortles knows you got to get rid of the football. That guy is a game wrecker.
That was a screen pass, though. I mean, their linemen are trying to get out in front of him.
Will Fuller, the return man here. High, short punt by Nortman. Fuller, fair catch at the 30 with 3:27 to go, 3rd quarter. Texans going back on offense. Brock Osweiler watching from the Texans sideline after he was benched, throwing 2 interceptions, and you see the total yards since the first quarter. It's been heavily tilted toward the Texans, yet they have yet to find the end zone. They trail 20-8. Tom Savage is 8 of 12 for 119 yards passing. Looking to throw here on first down. And towards Hopkins, who makes the catch. What a play by DeAndre Hopkins right in front of Jalen Ramsey. And these two have been in a battle all day long.
Yeah, Hopkins been pretty quiet most of the day. 3 catches for 30 yards coming into that play, but Jalen Ramsey not afraid of anybody. You can see he's going to challenge Hopkins every time they line up against each other. Right there, a really nice tackle in the open field, but Hopkins finally got a nice one on that last play.
He picked up 9. It's 2nd and 1. Jonathan Grimes on the carry, and Grimes has a Texans first down.
Yeah, you get that 2nd and 1 on that first down completion. This is the play that set up that 2nd and 1. I always thought, Steve Berline, you tell me as a quarterback on a 2nd and 1, if you're clicking offensively, you take a shot.
I like that mentality.
And I think at some point, Houston's got to do that.
Texans do not huddle. 1st and 10 with 2:30 to go in the 3rd quarter. Savage completes it to Grimes, and Grimes is crunched by Buzluzny and Peyton Thompson.
Well, Steve Tasker, you mentioned they got to take a shot at some point. Coming into this game, the Houston Texans only had 35 plays of 20-plus yards. That's 31st in the NFL. And they have one earlier today, the Wendell Williams fade down the sideline. But this is a team that on the season has just not made many explosive plays.
Pump fake. Savage looking for an explosive play, and it's incomplete. Hopkins, the intended target. Jalen Ramsey, stride for stride.
Well, we spoke about it, and this was on a 2nd and 6 play. The top around Ramsey, who has gotten kudos from every team they play. I mean, this guy is he's an elite defender, even at a young age. He's been called an 8-year vet. Coaches who prepare against him really notice how wise he is and the smart things he does. Bill O'Brien said, yeah, we liked him, but we liked him more as a safety. That's the kind of cerebral game he has. The guy's really played well all year.
3rd down and 6. It's been a tough go for the Texans on 3rd downs today. Just 1 out of 8 with 4 on the play clock. Savage out of the shotgun. Throwing sideline, and it's caught by Fuller. What a catch! Will Fuller moves the chains.
Man, that just as easily could have been an interception by House on that play. He's in perfect position. He was kind of going down, and Fuller does a super job of maintaining his focus, bringing that ball in off the tip.
Amazing in your analysis you didn't reference he was from Notre Dame. I'm very impressed. No huddle again for the Texans. 1:15 to go, 3rd quarter.
White 20! What's that?
Savage to Anderson, the tight end. And he is cut down by Cyprien on the sideline, but Texans have a little momentum here, going no huddle on this drive.
Yeah, it's amazing what a few first downs will do, plus a tipped pass that you turn into a nice little 1st down conversion. And Savage now, in the second half, it looked as though, he looked like a little bit discombobulated. It looked like the Jacksonville Jaguar defense made some adjustments. Now in the second possession after halftime, now he's settled down and hitting that out route and finding his receivers.
White 20!
We got man coverage across the board.
What's that?
Savage looking for a shot in the end zone for Hopkins. Incomplete. Looked like he was about to come down with it, and Ramsey may have gotten a hand on that to take it away.
Well, I'm surprised there wasn't a flag thrown. There was a lot of contact around the 5-yard line. They were really scrapping at each other here. That's just good physical football, I guess. There's nothing obvious there whatsoever, but I think Hopkins is going to make that catch most times, but shoot. Super job by Ramsey getting that hand in there the last minute and stripping it out of there. Look at that confidence.
20 seconds to go, 3rd quarter. 3rd down and 3.
You can't coach that.
Again, the play clock down to 1. Savage to Hopkins, incomplete. And it was Ramsey with the big hit.
Oh, it looked like this was going to be an easy completion as Hopkins came on the quick route. He motioned in to get a stack. Got a little stack formation. Easy completion. Nope.
Should have been an easy completion.
Yeah, the ball was high and inside. The ball could have been better, no question.
Yeah, much
but Ramsey closed so fast, Hopkins couldn't get 2 hands on it. And everything's got to be right for an offense. On defense, all you need is one guy to make a play, and Ramsey's doing it.
So now the hobbled Nick Novak will attempt a field goal at 43 yards. He's 2 for 2 today. 5 field goals last week in Indianapolis, 3 today against the Jaguars. And it's a 9-point game with 11 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter.
Well, some signs of life for this Houston offense as Savage comes off. Bill O'Brien giving him a little bit of encouragement there. Even Brock Osweiler, you can say what you want about Osweiler and how he struggled at times, but he has been a good teammate. He has said all the right things, done all the right things, and now in this bench you can bet, even though he doesn't like it, he's going to try and be as good a teammate as he can be.
Well, he's shown he can be a good backup quarterback, which is what he's being right now. He's being a good backup quarterback. The question is, can he be a starting quarterback in the NFL? And now the question is, there more than ever.
There's a difference in being a backup quarterback than being a starter who was benched.
Exactly right.
It's tough. That's on the sideline now. It's got some issues right now. Now, even if they come back and win this game, they've opened up a jar. We've talked about it, alluded to it a couple of times during this broadcast. It's big questions. Now what?
Right. the most important part of your season. You got yourself in position to control your own destiny, but you don't have any idea who your quarterback is, not based on injury, based on not having your guy that you're counting on step up.
You don't know. That's crazy. But I get the, man, you can tell Bill O'Brien, the sense of urgency is ratcheted up, and I think that's why that move came so quick after the 2 interceptions. There is no room for error with 3 games to play.
We saw what Marquise Lee did last time, a 100-yard kick return touchdown. Novak gets this one a little bit deeper, but Lee's going to take it out again. Marquise Lee at the 20, still on his feet across the 25 and take it down at the 29-yard line. A 33-yard return with 3 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. Well, the Texans came into the day tied for first place in the AFC South with Tennessee, a 7-6 record. You'd see Tennessee down 7 early for 4th quarter in Kansas City, while the Colts, who started the day 1 game behind Houston and Tennessee, are all over Minnesota 34-6. So if the results end like they are right now, all 3 teams would be 7-7, but still a lot of football to go. Ivory to the 35, and that's the final play of the 3rd quarter. Jacksonville leads 20-11. We'll be back after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. In Houston with Steve Berline and Steve Tasker, I'm Andrew Catalon, our entire NFL on CBS crew. Start of the 4th quarter, the Jaguars trying to stop an 8-game losing streak. They lead the first-place Texans 20-11. 2nd and 4 with Blake Bortles in the shotgun. Yeldon. And Yeldon is taken down, a short gain on the play. Neither one of these teams has done well in the 4th quarter this year. Blake Bortles told us last night that the 4th quarter is something they talked about all week. In 3 of their last 4 games coming in, they've had a 4th quarter lead and lost. They have not finished games. Can they do it today? They're faced with 3rd and 2 here early in the 4th. Bortles incomplete with the pressure coming. Quinton Demps came on a blitz, and Bortles off his back foot throws an incompletion.
Yeah, he thought he was going to have a hot receiver. Allen Robinson on the outside right at the top of your screen. He thinks he's going to pull up on a little hitch, and Robinson just keeps going. That's a miscommunication on a crucial 3rd down conversion, and it costs him a possession.
Bortles is just 10 out of 20 for 75 yards today. Nortman punting. And it's Fuller from his own 6. He has 1 punt return touchdown this year, down the sideline and out of bounds around the 35-yard line. So Will Fuller providing a spark on special teams, a 27-yard return.
That was well blocked up. He did a nice job. He knew he had a little bit of time to return this. It's tough to catch a punt when it's coming down out of the roof of the building and you know you've got guys closing in fast. Fuller does a nice job to catch it, move it up the field, and then pop it to the outside. And the return guys, so many times when the ball hangs up, they think, you know, they take it for granted you're going to fair catch it. It's going to be inside the 20. They let up. Not so. The guys up front of Fuller did a great job staying with their blocks and giving him an opportunity.
Well, we just talked about the Jaguars' 4th quarter struggles, but Houston this year, minus 38 point differential in the 4th quarter, and they have just 1 4th quarter touchdown in their last 7 games. Savage is 12 out of 19 for 161 yards. Throwing on 1st down to the tight end Griffin, who makes the catch at the 39-yard line. Cyprian with another tackle for Jacksonville.
You mentioned the fact that they don't have a 4th quarter touchdown today. They don't have a touchdown of any kind. And that's got to be a concern for Bill O'Brien.
And they're going no huddle here, picking up the tempo a little bit.
Just like the last drive, which resulted in a field goal. Lamar Miller up the middle for a Houston first down.
It's another second and short that they decide not to take a shot on and save that second and short run for the first down, for third down, and take a shot down the field on second down. They don't do it.
Well, I think if Bill O'Brien had a lot of confidence in the quarterback situation, he might be more aggressive.
Savage looking for a deep shot here, down the field and incomplete. Intended for Fuller. It was Ramsey on the coverage.
I just think they're challenging the wrong guy all day long. They keep seeming to go after Ramsey. They have had no success against him with the exception of a couple of short catches. Ramsey has challenged everything. He came up with a tip ball interception. This was the fourth down call in the end zone on the fade route. Right there, a nice strip on Hopkins. This guy just does not make many mistakes at all. He's going to make you earn every single yard.
4 passes defense today by Ramsey, including his first NFL interception. Savage sideline, and it's nearly intercepted by Amukamara.
Well, just as you were talking about that, I agree. There's got to be a different defensive back that you want to throw at, and Amukamara almost pulls in an interception. But that guy Ramsey's quickly becoming a guy you don't want to trifle with. Now Amukamara is going to step out of bounds before he actually, as he catches that, he can't pull it in. That was almost a bad interception at the completely wrong time for the Texans, and they escaped it.
Yeah, it was a slip by Will Fuller on the outside, kind of lost his footing and almost was disastrous.
They did huddle here before this big 3rd down and 10 play. 5 on the play clock. They've got to hurry. Savage just gets it off. Savage fires, caught by Hopkins. A Houston first down. Hopkins makes the grab in front of Ramsey for a gain of 12.
Well, at some point you got to figure your big time number one of the most highly respected receivers in the NFL, DeAndre Hopkins, is going to create an opportunity for himself right there. That's about the best opportunity they've had all day. That was a half a step on Jalen Ramsey. And right there, Savage put it on the money. Good conversion and a much needed conversion for the Houston Texans.
Hopkins had 5 catches in his last 2 games combined coming in. He has 5 today for 52 yards. From the 45-yard line, a flea flicker. Savage trying to wind up, but nobody home. Now chased out. He throws on the run, and it's incomplete. Good job by the Jaguars secondary not to bite on that trick play.
Oh, I think they had a chance on this one, Andrew. You're going to see right here. Watch the top receiver. He kind of stutters a little bit. Then he falls outside. The free safety in the middle of the field is going to run him down eventually. But if Savage puts it on him right now, out in this area out here, the safety is not going to get that ball. I think Savage should have pulled the trigger on that when you had an uncovered guy on the outside.
2nd and 10 with Lamar Miller at running back. Miller just 63 yards on the ground today. Savage over the middle, right back to Hopkins for a first down. A 16-yard pickup, and the Texans marching down the field.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey on the other side of the field. Hopkins finds the dead spot, goes right down after this.
Great catch.
I mean, you talk about that flea flicker a moment ago. How many reps do you think Savage has had throwing the flea flicker, and it's a big 0? That's probably the first time he's run that play. Probably seen Osweiler run it a handful of times. There's no way he's even had a practice rep.
He just wasn't comfortable.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
Wendell Williams, the speedster at the top of your screen, guarded by Ramsey. 1st and 10. Savage over the middle, and Posluszny with a big hit. Takes down Alfred Blue.
What can you say about Paul Posluszny? I mean, the guy is just never out of position. He brings it every single time. Understands what the offense is trying to do, and seldom misses a tackle or an opportunity to make a play. Other than that, he's not very good.
9 tackles today for the captain of this Jacksonville defense. Second down and 6.
Wait, 20! What's that?
Savage fires to Griffin for another first down. A flag is down. Griffin is taken down at the 9-yard line by Pusluzny. Let's see what the penalty is. And it's against Houston.
I think Griffin threw an elbow.
Pass interference, offense number 84. It was a push-off. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat second down.
Let's see if he gets that arm extended as he tries to create that separation. Bill O'Brien frustrated.
Yeah, you want to talk about right here. You're going to talk about a rarely call. I don't know. He did extend it. I don't know if he got a push off or he just had his hand out there, but that is the most rarely called penalty in football.
Unless
the
it's
offensive
obvious.
pass. Yeah, you got to almost push the guy down.
Wipes out a 16-yard gain by Griffin and backs up the Texans to the 35-yard line. Second and 16.
Wait, 20! What's that?
Savage, quick pass to Hopkins. Hopkins not able to slip away from the tackle of Thompson, but still a gain of 12.
I was going to say, when they line up Hopkins in the slot like they do right here, here he is, first man in. Ramsey's way out here on the outside. They don't put Ramsey over Hopkins when he's in the slot. So I would think you may want to start trying to exploit that formation a little bit.
They don't put him on him when he's in the slot, but when they motion him to the slot, sometimes Ramsey will come in with him. But when they line up in the slot, he's all by himself against somebody else.
Texans are 1 for 1 on this drive, converting third downs. Third down and 4. Will they have to settle for another field goal attempt? Savage to Hopkins, and he's got the first down. Matched up with Ramsey again. They needed 4, and he gets 5.
I will say this, Hopkins is showing me something here today. The first part of this game, and really the first 2/3 of this game, probably Ramsey was getting the better of Hopkins, but these last couple drives, Hopkins has been stepping up and making some plays. And these are not easy plays.
No.
These are tough plays.
Those are good throws by Savage, too. Those are really nice. Right in the breadbasket where the receiver's got to have it.
Hopkins had been held to 75 yards or fewer in 11 straight games, the longest streak of his career. But today he's at 8 catches for 87 yards. Savage to Griffin inside the 10-yard line.
I really like what Savage is doing. He's making good decisions right there. The best matchup was his tight end Griffin coming off the ball and gets soft coverage, a nice clean release. Just made the little break outside, and it was a nice, easy throw and catch for Savage. But making that decision is not as easy as it looks.
New career high in receiving yards for Griffin. He's got 73 today. Again, as we mentioned earlier, this is an area of the field that has really hurt the Texans. Their lack of ability to score touchdowns in the red zone. Second and 2 from the 8. Play action. Savage looking for Fuller, and Ramsey breaks it up.
That was dangerous. That was almost going the other way.
Yeah, the crowd wants his left hand called. He's got a hold of the jersey here. Watch as he comes across. You see him. He pulls him off with that off arm. And they don't call that because he bats it away.
That's one where Savage should have just got rid of that football. They were trying to lull Ramsey to sleep with the play action fake and the way Fuller came off the line, but Ramsey did not bite. That could have been going the other way.
10 straight passing plays for a team that's 5th in the NFL in rushing yards per game. Third and 2. On the ground here, and Miller falls over his own man. Ode Abushi, the right guard, went down, and Miller couldn't get by him, a loss of 2.
He went down because Sinderic Marks torpedo submarine right underneath him, carried him straight back into the backfield. What a great play. The penetration by Sinderic Marks. Right there, that's what, look at that. I mean, he came out and never got more than a foot off the ground.
Yeah, Abushi, all he has to do is he just kind of crumples him, tries to get him on the ground, and it's not enough.
So Novak again, he's 3 for 3 today. This is a 27-yard attempt. And Novak is good again. He has the second most made field goals in the league this year. It's a 6-point game. Coming up next, the playoff picture takes focus when Tom Brady and the Patriots look to settle up with Von Miller and the Broncos, or the Raiders challenge the Chargers. It's all right here on the NFL on CBS. 4 field goals today for Nick Novak and the Texans. They also have a safety on a holding play on a punt in the end zone. That's how they get to 14. They trail by 6 with 7:54 to go. Marquise Lee tied for the longest play in Jaguars history with the 100-yard kick return. It tied him with the last time the Jags had a kick return touchdown. Maurice Jones-Drew also took it 100 yards. Indianapolis has just gone final in their game up in Minnesota, and after losing at home to the Texans last week, what a response by Chuck Pagano and the Colts. They destroy the Vikings and now go to 7-7 on the season.
And it's working perfectly for them with both the Titans and the Texans losing. Could not be better.
Titans still down by 7 in Kansas City as Marquise Lee takes a knee. Jaguars football at the 25 when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Walmart. Find gifts, groceries, and more this season. Progressive, handing off big savings to you. And by Marmot, fall in love with the outside.
Battle Red Day in Houston, and the Texans fans hoping for a fourth quarter comeback. The first place Texans trail by 6 with 7:54 to go, and the Jaguars start this drive in the air. The screen to Yeldon, a flag is down. Yeldon still going to the 31, but Blake Bortles looks frustrated as if this one might be coming back.
Yeah, they got Parnell.
Holding offense number 68. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat first down.
They got Beachum. I thought they threw it on Parnell on the right side.
Beachum, the left tackle, called for holding for the 3rd time this year.
Yeah, Beachum said it wasn't me.
Yeah, that should go against Parnell.
There's Parnell all the way, yeah.
Well, if they change it, it'll be the 6th time this year Parnell's been called for holding. And a tough year for him. He's also allowed a career-high 5 sacks. So the penalty makes it first down and 20. Yeldon is stuffed by Clowney.
Wow.
Well, we've been talking about him all day, and they've tried to run away from him. They moved the pocket away from him. They've thrown screen passes behind him. And this time he just runs right down across the face of Beachum. Beachum has no shot to get there. He's head up inside shade and comes right across. Yeldon is like, wait a minute.
5 tackles, 1 sack today by Jadeveon Clowney, and it's 2nd and 22 with Clowney calling for the crowd to get loud. Bortles completes that to Koyak, and a short gain on the play. It'll be 3rd down and long. Kareem Jackson on the tackle.
Now this is a situation where Blake Bortles has got to be very, very careful. His history on 3rd down is not very good. His quarterback rating 57.7 on 3rd down. There's only one quarterback in the league worse. That's Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he's thrown 10 interceptions on 3rd down. That's 5 more than the next closest guys in the NFL.
3rd down and 20 as we approach 6 minutes to go. Good protection, and Koyak wasn't looking for it. He was open and well short of the first down marker anyway, but it's incomplete and a 3-and-out by Jacksonville.
Well, I don't know what you're thinking as a receiver. He could not be a better throw, and it wasn't going to pick up the first down, but it certainly was 10 yards of field position, and punting it away is not the worst thing in the world for Jacksonville. Their defense is going to have to get up and make a stop anyway, but Come on, you got to help your quarterback out.
That 10 yards is significant, too. 10 or 12 yards of field position for sure.
Will Fuller awaiting the punt at his own 28-yard line, nearly blocked. Short punt. Fuller all the way up to the 45. It's back to his feet and taken down very close to midfield. Not a good punt by Brad Nortman. 41 yards, a return of 5. Texans offense going back to work. Tonight, the Pope's Choir, the oldest and most heavenly of them all in the most spectacular setting, only on 60 Minutes tonight, only CBS. Great field position for the Texans. They have 276 yards passing today. That's a season high, and they've done it primarily because of Savage, who's thrown for 228 yards. Osweiler benched in the first half, 6 of 11 for 48 yards. Throwing on first down. Savage to Griffin at midfield. Griffin is tackled by Cyprien at the Jacksonville 48-yard line. Second half possessions for Houston, and they're getting the ball down the field, but they're not finishing with touchdowns. 3 field goals this half for Nick Novak.
Yep, these guys got to score touchdowns. That's the big elephant in the room here. The Titans need a touchdown, by the way.
Savage, and a first down. It's Will Fuller coming back to make that catch.
I like what I see out of Savage, though, here. You know, the first play, they went for a big home run play. Wasn't there down the field. He moved his feet. He knew where his check down was, and he had a nice positive gain. Second play right here, goes through his read, on money, on the time, outside. Just a perfect decision by him. He's playing like he knows what he's doing.
Inside 5 minutes to go. First down and 10 from the Jacksonville 38.
Wait, 20!
Houston has pretty much abandoned the run here in the fourth quarter.
Wait, 20! Inside!
Back to the air. Savage going to run it himself and slides down at the 36-yard line right in front of Telvin Smith.
Telvin Smith, you could tell he let up on the play and Savage slid into him. It's a smart play by Smith because the reflex is to come in and really lay a lick on the backup quarterback.
It was a late slide.
It was a late slide. Savage gets up a little bit gimpy, but he shake that off. Crowd wanted a penalty, but they're not going to get it. That's a good no call.
2 timeouts left for Houston. Remember, they burned one in the third quarter with the play clock winding down. Savage looking for Hopkins, and incomplete. It was Ramsey on the coverage. Third down and 7 coming for Houston.
You can see Ramsey, they're both working the official pretty hard. Hopkins wants a pass interference. Ramsey says he got up into my face mask.
Is this 4-down territory for the Texans?
Well, at 4th and 7, I don't know if it's 4-down territory. I mean, with 3:50 left, I would say it's a 50-50 call. Bill O'Brien not wrong to go for it on 4th down if they don't make it.
Third down and 7.
Go!
Pressure coming. Savage gets rid of it. A lot of contact, and there's the flag. Ramsey was holding Hopkins.
And he knows it now this time.
Yeah, he's shrugging that one off. He's laughing. He goes, yeah, I did it.
The crazy thing is he didn't need to on that one because they were getting pressure to Savage. That was not going to be a complete
pass interference defense, number 20. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul, which is the 25-yard line.
Watch this. This is never going to be completed. That ball was way outside.
How about the play selection this quarter for the Texans? 14 passes, just 3 runs in the fourth quarter. A lot of confidence in Tom Savage playing in just his 3rd NFL game.
Wait, 20! What's that?
First down and 10. Pressure coming. Savage is hit, but still completes it. Griffin reels it in. It was Cyprien who came on the blitz and put a big hit on Savage.
Yeah, Cyprien comes off the edge. It looks like he's going to cover, but he lets the back go, comes right after Savage. Savage does a nice job, and ultimately that's what you got to do. Is you got to stand there, take the hit, and make the throw. Savage did an excellent job.
Texans back in the red zone where they have not scored a touchdown today, and they're the second worst red zone team in the NFL this year in terms of scoring touchdowns. Can they get one here? Savage to a wide open Miller, and Miller out of bounds inside the 10. First and goal for Houston.
Well, it makes it a lot easier when you find a guy completely uncovered. Here you're going to see Lamar Miller right here. All he's going to do is run straight out into the flat. Oops, excuse me there. Straight out into the flat, and he's completely uncovered. You see right there, that's as easy as it gets. And a nice job of seeing it, because half the battle is for the quarterback to actually see the blown coverage. It's not as easy as it looks.
Red zone today, 2 possessions for the Texans. They got stopped at the 1, and they kicked a field goal. They need to punch it in here, down by 6. Savage, and it's incomplete. High over the head of Hopkins. It's 2nd and goal.
Yeah, once again, they tried to go to the high throw to Hopkins, covered by Ramsey. I just don't like it. I think they got to take another tack against this defense with Ramsey on the field. I know Hopkins is your go-to guy, but you've got to make a play someplace else.
Yeah, you put him in the slot or put him in motion to soften the coverage on him, and maybe you got a chance to get a spot to put the ball.
Or just throw it to somebody else.
First 300-yard passing game as a team since October of last year against the Colts. Savage looking for more. End zone, incomplete, but a flag is down. Went off the hands of Griffin. Cyprian on the coverage. And he does not agree with this call. Ed Hockley's crew huddled up.
Pass interference defense, number 37. Ball was placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
Yeah, that's the old adage. If you can't earn the yardage, let the other team give it to you. Cyprian grabs him on the way on the comeback. Yeah, and it's a good call. At the top of the route, he had his arm across Griffin's chest, had a handful of jersey.
2 pass interference penalties against the Jaguars in the last 4 plays. First and goal from the 1. Miller, the running back. Miller takes the handoff, and Miller is in! Touchdown, Texans! And now the critical extra point with the game tied at 20. Fifth rushing touchdown this year by Lamar Miller.
Well, it's not rocket science. Get a hat on a hat, come off the ball hard, and let your running back pick a seam in the defense. Miller does a nice job just walking in. Great job up front, going to the left side of the offensive line. We'll see if Nick Novak, who's been perfect, even though he's been hobbled by injury, see if he can put this through.
4 for 4 in field goals today. He's missed 2 extra points this season. Ramsey looking to jump over. Doesn't get there. They run into Novak, and the extra point is good. Penalties down. It'll be against the Jaguars.
There's going to be 2 penalties on the Jaguars. One is running into, one is on Jalen Ramsey for jumping up, and it's going to be a leverage call. And then, of course, running into the kicker. Both of these are going to go against the Jaguars, it looks like.
Tough day at the office for Nick Novak, but he has done the job. 4 for 4 field goals, and the extra point is good.
Jalen Ramsey tried to time it up and jump through, and they altered the snap count just so he could not do that. Did a nice job up front.
Ramsey practiced this in his days at Florida State. Said he came close a couple of times,
There
but
were
never
2
blocked
fouls
one.
by the defense on the play. There was holding. That penalty is declined. There was also running into the kicker, number 37. That 5-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. The try is good.
Yet another special teams penalty against Jacksonville. And now with 2:51 to go, the Texans on the comeback trail. They have taken the lead by 1.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Subway. Search for better. And by National Mortgage Lender Quicken Loans. Home buy, refi, power.
The Texans have scored 10 points here in the fourth quarter to take the lead 21-20, and we'd like to welcome those of you who just saw Tennessee pull off an improbable win at Kansas City, 19-17. So the Titans now go to 8-6 in the AFC South, and that means Houston needs to hold on to this win against Jacksonville in order to remain tied atop the AFC South standings. Marquise Lee, who had a kick return touchdown of 100 yards earlier in the game, takes a knee, and the Jaguars will get the ball at the 25-yard line. They have all 3 timeouts. Blake Bortles has had a quiet day, 11 of 22 for just 77 yards. Jacksonville only has 135 yards of offense.
Yeah, and this is where Blake Bortles needs to start building some confidence from his teammates in these situations. He can do it when he has to do it.
Bortles fires low. It's incomplete, but a flag comes in from the secondary. Pass was intended for Allen Robinson. A.J. Boye on the coverage for the Texans. And it's going against Houston.
Before the pass was thrown, holding defense number 21. It's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot, an automatic first down.
Second penalty today against Boye, the 4th-year man out of Central Florida, who used to be college teammates with Blake Bortles.
Yeah, you see right there, and they're going to call him for that grab right there, and he thinks, and probably rightfully so, Robinson pushed off of him. Boye before that, if you grab a handful of jersey, that's a penalty. No questions asked.
Bortles, good protection, fires dangerously, but it's caught at the 45. Brian Walters reels it in. Andre Howe on the coverage, a gain of 15 with 2:30 to go.
Well, as much as Blake Bortles is scrutinized and ripped throughout the country for his lack of production and consistency, he can make some great throws. He shows it every single week. Right there was a nice one.
Career-long field goal for Jason Myers. The Jaguars kicker is 58 yards. Bortles steps up and fires to Robinson. It's incomplete along the sideline. Good job by Bortles to escape a sack there.
It was a great job by Bortles, but he's got to make that throw, Andrew. I mean, that was exactly what you're looking for in that situation. Your receiver was looking back at you. Throw the ball where it's catchable. The defender has no idea the ball's in the air. That should have been a big completion.
You see the 2 turnovers today by the Texans. Those were 2 interceptions thrown by Brock Osweiler, who was benched in favor of the backup Tom Savage. It's been Savage since the first half. Second down and 10 with 2:09 to go. Bortles sideline again, incomplete. Robinson the intended target. Boye again on the coverage. And it's 3rd down.
Looked like Boye got away with one there to me. I don't know.
Yeah, that looked like more of a penalty than the one they called earlier in the drive.
Hanging on him the whole time.
And I think you're right. Those 2 plays, you got to get 2 very easy completions. Bortles did a nice job escaping the sack on the earlier one, but I think once he escapes, he doesn't show patience after he escapes. He doesn't use all the time that he buys himself, and it costs him in situations like that.
Jacksonville just 3 for 12 on 3rd downs, and Blake Bortles has to burn a timeout. Wow, that could change things if they come to a 4th down. Gus Bradley may now have to go for it. This could be 4-down territory now. It'll eliminate the possibility of a punt, having to burn a timeout there.
Well, they still have another timeout, and there's plenty of time on the clock. They only need to get about 20 yards to have a very makeable field goal. So I don't know that losing a timeout there or using one really hurts you. You still get the 2-minute warning, and you got one more timeout.
Yeah, the field goal aspect changes everything. They don't need a touchdown. And I think it's the right. In fact, you got to think, yeah, he's got to take a timeout there because they've got to stay on the field
it's right here. It's a big play. I think
if they don't stay on the field here, this game is over.
So 2 timeouts remaining for the Jaguars. They also have the 2-minute warning with 2:05 to go. It's 3rd down and 10. Crowd on its feet here in Houston. Movement on the line. Clowney's pointing against Jacksonville, and it is on the Jaguars.
False start offense, number 68. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Kelvin Beachum called for the penalty.
How many times have we said it today? The timing for these mistakes for the Jaguars, you just can't make this stuff up. That little flinch. Now, here Bortles has got to understand, it is not, you don't have to convert it on this play. You got to get at least half of it to give yourselves a makeable opportunity on 4th down.
91 yards and penalties today for Jacksonville. They're the 2nd most penalized team in the NFL. 3rd and 15. Bortles on the run. Throws back across his body and incomplete. And that takes us to the 2-minute warning. It's 4th and 15 when we come back. You're watching the NFL on CBS. 1:58 to go. It's 4th down and 15 for Jacksonville. The Texans defense is the best 4th down defense in the NFL. They've allowed only 2 conversions in 11 attempts. Bortles, pressure coming. He gets away. Still on his feet, and now he's taken down. He was down before he threw it. The Texans defense rises up again.
Well, I don't know if they ever rule Bortles down here. He fights and fights. But the bottom line is it doesn't matter because the pass was incomplete anyway.
Antonio Smith, the 35-year-old veteran, getting his arms on Bortles here. It does appear that Bortles did not go down. They call the pass officially incomplete. Nonetheless, Texans get the ball back at the Jacksonville 40. The Jaguars have 2 timeouts remaining. Blake Bortles told us last night all week they preached 4th quarter. 4th quarter, we got to come through in the 4th quarter. Well, they've allowed 10 points and in danger of losing their 9th straight game.
And along with that, Andrew, as Jacksonville takes their 2nd timeout, they have not scored any points. They had a 20-8 lead at one point in this game. And now they're down 21-20. They've not done anything to help themselves from that point. Offensively, defensively, special teams, penalties, everything.
Here in Houston with Steve Tasker and Steve Berline, I'm Andrew Catalan. We thank you for tuning in. For those of you who just saw the Steelers and Bengals get together, it's been a big comeback by the Texans. They lead it by 1:45 to go, and just 1 timeout left for Jacksonville. Brock Osweiler was benched after throwing 2 first-half interceptions. Tom Savage has taken over. Lamar Miller gets a yard. It's 3rd down. Jacksonville uses its final timeout. They can no longer stop the clock with 1:40 to go.
And all you can say about the job Savage has done today, and Bill O'Brien, there you see Gus Bradley, but Bill O'Brien, an incredibly gutsy move to insert Savage early in the 2nd quarter. But you got Savage at 23 of 36 for 260 yards. Pretty solid stand-up performance by him.
Yeah, the two interceptions by Osweiler happened early. He had 5 possessions, and the last 2 were 2 consecutive interceptions. One was a tipped ball off the hands of his receiver. The second one was an ugly interception right into the coverage that he didn't see. And Bill O'Brien wasted absolutely no time. Jacksonville had a 3-and-out, and coming out after that series, Savage came into the game and has been there ever since.
Big play here, 3rd down and 7. Jaguars trying to get the ball back. Tennessee won earlier today to go to 8-6. Texans trying to keep pace. They keep it on the ground, and the Jaguars defense does its job. They cannot stop the clock. No timeouts left.
Now, ideally, what O'Brien would have liked there would be to have gotten about 3 or 4 yards and make it a little bit easier field goal.
Well, it'd get them into field goal range. They're
Right.
not going to kick it now.
They're not going to kick it now. They're going to punt it, yeah.
They'll punt it away after taking a timeout. As the play clock runs all the way down. Now they had a player injured, and that stopped the clock.
It was Lamar Miller who told us Friday it doesn't feel like week 15, it feels like week 30, the way my body feels right now, and again is able to come off in some pain. And that's a big play because the clock stops with 1:20 to go, and here comes Shane Leckler, the punter.
Now, player safety aside, you always tell guys, listen, in this situation, you got to get off the field if you can, and your trainers are told as well, hey, don't go out there unless the guy is, staying down. Oh, you see there, his left ankle. But that's a spot where that's a problem not to be able to get off the field in that situation.
40-year-old Shane Leckler trying to pin the Jaguars deep. Walters lets it bounce. It bounces at the 5, and it's down to the 7-yard line. So Leckler does his job. What else is new? Playing in his 236th consecutive game as J.J. Watt watches from the sidelines. First time he's been down on the sidelines since going on injured reserve back in September. He had not been medically cleared to stand for more than 3 hours. And now this is it for Gus Bradley and the Jaguars as they try to avoid a 9th straight loss, which would be a single-season franchise record.
And what can you say about Gus Bradley? You saw him right there, totally into it, totally positive, upbeat. He believes his team is going to find a way to get this done.
All they need is a field goal, but they got a long way to go. Bortles to the middle of the field. It's picked off. Quentin Demps. And he wisely goes down at the 25-yard line. Sixteenth interception this season for Blake Bortles. And the Texans can kill the clock and beat Jacksonville for the 6th straight time.
Now, this is just a bad decision by Bortles. I understand he's trying to make a play, but you got over a minute left in the game, and there were easy completions to move the ball down the field. There were easy completions on that play right in front of him. You're trying to give yourself a shot to kick a field goal or have a Hail Mary. Instead, you try to force one in there in the first play and ball game. That's it.
Tom Savage can take a knee, and the Houston Texans find a way to come back and beat Jacksonville here at home.
You want a sports analogy. If this is a tennis match, Jacksonville never puts the ball back over the net and put any pressure on their opponent. They always find themselves hitting it into the net or hitting it out of bounds on their own. They have never put the ball back over and put the pressure on their opponents. They get into the 4th quarter with a 9-point lead, and all of a sudden they stop playing.
And now a fascinating week unfolding in Houston. Who's going to be the starting quarterback on Christmas Eve night against the Cincinnati Bengals?
Well, I think you're looking at him right there, number 3. I think Bill O'Brien's probably made that clear. But what a story it is.
Tom Savage finishes with 260 yards passing. There's a look at the updated standings in the AFC South. Houston and Tennessee remain tied at the top. 8-6 records, a huge comeback win for Houston. Stay tuned for Game 2 of our doubleheader. The Patriots and Broncos and the Raiders and Chargers. For Steve Tasker and Steve Berline, our entire crew, this is Andrew Catalan saying so long from Houston. We'll take it to New York right after this.